Chapter 960. Shi Shang was scolded by He Xin for a long time before he let her go. Shi Shang returned to her seat dejectedly and rested her chin on her hand, thinking about life. What should she do now? Side task. R. Why did you jump out? Go back. I don't accept this task. Host's character is too low. You don't have the right to reject the side task. Shi Shang, tell me, what's the punishment? She had to weigh the pros and cons first before she decided to reject the task. Same old rules. If she didn't accept the task, she would lose all her points. She didn't know why she suddenly wanted the host to reject the task. As a system, how could it have such thoughts? It was an upright system. It couldn't have such dangerous thoughts. Shi Shang. Couldn't she change it to something new? Why did she use this trick every time? How could there be so many times? This method was only used once. Don't tell the system that it was useless. Obviously, it was still useful. She didn't want to lose the points she had saved with great difficulty. Therefore, after thinking for a while, Shi Shang accepted the task. Find out the identity of R and punish him. Was R a person or an organization? There seemed to be a lot of information about R in the police station, but in fact, it was all about the cases he had committed. There was basically no information about R, no gender, no age, no height, nothing. Shi Shang didn't believe that it was the same person who had committed so many crimes without leaving any traces. If he was really the same person, then he was really a pervert. Host's character is too low. The system can't provide any clues. Character my ass. You look down on people with low character, don't you? Yes. Shi Shang. Just you wait, System I. I'm not scared of you. The system is going offline. Before Shi Shang could greet the system's family, someone called for a meeting. He Xin suddenly called for a meeting because Hua Xiao had found something new. They found out that Lu Fan had been in contact with a vice president under Dong Chun, and the person who had transferred the money to Lu Fan was that vice president. Qin Yu, you haven't finished what you wanted to say before. Can you say it now? He Xin looks at Shi Shang, who has been absent-minded all this time. Shi Shang gathered her scattered thoughts and tapped on the tablet in front of her with her fingertips. The picture on the big screen suddenly changed. Isn't this the commercial development project in the east of the city? Someone recognized the photo. Next, I'll show you something interesting. Shi Shang swiped his finger, and the photo on the screen suddenly turned into a large-scale photo of a boat. Everyone. This was interesting. What was the meaning of showing them the pornographic photos? Shi Shang quickly changed the topic and said calmly, "Sorry, my hand slipped." Everyone. Who would believe that your hand slipped? The photo changed again. This time, it was no longer a photo of the boat. It was a F*King photo of the scene of a massacre. Shi Shang switched to a few photos of the same scene. The only difference was that the people, the scene, and the time were different. Every picture was marked with a date. According to the chronological order, there were a total of 5 cases from June to December last year. What does this have to do with the case we're investigating? Huang Song asked. We're talking about the Dong Corporation's case now. Shi Shang glanced at Huang Song. It was a very calm look without any emotion, but Huang Song shivered and didn't dare to make a sound. Shi Shang retracted his gaze and said unhurriedly, "These 5 cases were all closed as accidents in the end. They don't seem to be related, but they are all related to this commercial district that is about to start construction. The 5 people who died all owned a property in this commercial district. At the same time, they were also residents of the commercial district who were unwilling to sell the land to the Dong Corporation. However, not long after their deaths, their families sold the land and received a generous compensation. This wasn't an accident," He Xin immediately added. Hua Xiao looked up at Shi Shang with a complicated gaze. He had just found out that there was a problem with the Dong Corporation's project, but he hadn't found out about it yet. But she had already found out about it. Hua Xiao's fighting spirit was ignited in the depths of his heart. He looked at Shi Shang with a burning gaze. He Xin ordered someone to bring the information about these 5 cases. According to the information, the way these 5 people died was very normal because they weren't the only ones involved in the accident. Many passers-by were also implicated, either seriously injured or killed. Usually, a group accident wouldn't make people suspect that it was premeditated. If Shishang hadn't mentioned in advance that these 5 people were related to the commercial district, they would also have thought that it was an accident. If this was premeditated, then it's too scary. It wasn't just 5 people who died. There were many innocent passers-by. I don't understand. The Dong Corporation is so rich. Even if they asked for a high price, they didn't have to kill all of them. Someone raised a question. The answer may be found on that vice president. Shishang looked at the time. If you don't take action, someone may kill you. What do you mean? He Xin was shocked. Qin Yu, don't hide it. What do you know? I don't know anything. I don't have the ability to predict the future. Shishang paused. But the person in charge of that project is that vice president. If I'm the mastermind, I will definitely get rid of him before the police find him. He Xin looked at Shishang in surprise. He felt more and more that this girl had the tendency to commit a crime. How did the mastermind know that we found the vice president? The meeting room was silent. Shishang stood up first. It's obvious that there's a mole. The people who worked on these 5 cases back then couldn't have not noticed that something was wrong after the victims were all from the same place. They were either bribed or threatened. So, after eliminating the suspects who came in later, it's most likely you guys. The original Qin Yu came in last August. The female lead and Hua Xiao came in even later, so there was no suspicion. Everyone present looked at each other in dismay. Why was this plot development so unexpected? Before they could recover from one shock, they were immediately plunged into another one. Qin Yu. He Xin saw that Shishang wanted to say more, so he quickly interrupted her. Arrest them first. Everyone, hand over your phones. Use the team's walkie-talkie. Everyone handed over their phones in silence. Qin Yu, it's yours. He Xin saw that Shishang was still holding her tablet and scolded him with a straight face. Captain He, if I'm a mole, it's too late for you to ask me to hand it over now. If I wanted to send a message, I would have done it long ago. He Xin thought about it. This girl was the director's daughter. How could she be a mole? He was ready to acquiesce to Shishang's actions, but now UAI was unhappy. We're on the same team. We should do everything in line. If something happens, who will take responsibility? Chapter 961. Qin Yu, give it to me. He Xin winked at Shishang. Even if you have someone backing you, you'd better listen to him at a time like this. Oh my God, don't make trouble. Shishang hesitated for a moment and threw the tablet to He Xin. He Xin put it away and said, "Let's go." Shishang didn't need to go out to the field, but He Xin asked him to go. When they arrived, Shishang refused to get out of the car, so He Xin had to let him stay in the car. After they left, Shishang got out of the car and walked in another direction. He went around the corner and walked to a place that looked like a back door. It was a KTV. The back alley was very dark. Shishang pulled the door, but it couldn't be opened. It was probably locked from the inside. Waiting was boring. Shishang didn't know how long he had been waiting. Suddenly, the back door was opened and a figure rushed out. Before he had time to identify the direction, a cold light flashed in front of him. He felt a sudden pain in his abdomen and was kicked back inside. The criminal steadied himself. A black mask covered most of his face, only revealing his eyes. "Get out of my way, or I'll kill you." The criminal deliberately changed his voice to sound a bit strange. "I'm not blocking you." Shishang gestured with his sword. "We're still so far away." The criminal. He estimated the distance between himself and the door and Shishang's position. She didn't have a gun. If he was fast enough, he should be able to escape. "Police, don't move." Suddenly, UAI caught up from behind and pointed her gun at the criminal. The criminal was startled by her shout. He raised his gun and fired at UAI. Bang! Bang! After 2 consecutive gunshots, the criminal took the opportunity to rush towards the door and fired a shot at Shi Shang in an attempt to force her away. Shi Shang blocked the bullet with his iron sword. The bullet bounced off the iron sword and didn't even leave a mark. The horror in the criminal's eyes was no less than when he saw a monster. This was a scientific society. Anyone would be shocked to see such a strange scene. Just as he was hesitating, the sword suddenly slashed at him. The criminal was forced to retreat inside and rush to UAI in a few steps. UAI had just been shot by the gangster. At this time, she had no strength to resist. She was rudely pulled up from the ground by the gangster and put the gun to her forehead. At this time, the police arrived and pointed their guns at the criminals. Back off. The criminal's eyes were filled with ruthlessness. All of you, back off. Put the gun down. He shouted. You have nowhere to run. It's not too late to turn yourself in. Don't hurt the innocent. If you don't put down the gun, I'll kill her. The gangster was obviously a veteran and didn't listen to He at all. His index finger had already begun to press down. Put down the gun. He made a prompt decision. He slowly loosened his hand and slowly put the gun on the ground. The criminal retreated. He kept looking behind him from the corner of his eyes. The woman who had been standing outside earlier had disappeared. It was as if she had never appeared. If he went out like this, what if she was lying in ambush outside? Ask the people outside to come out. There's no one outside. He looked at the criminal nervously, afraid that his hand would shake and kill UAI. Bullshit, there's a woman outside. Ask her to come out. He wouldn't be at ease if he didn't see her. He didn't arrange for people to be at the back door. At this time, he was confused. Where did this woman come from? You can't escape. Even if you run out, there's an inescapable net waiting for you outside. Because of the pain, UAI's face was a little pale, but she was still calm. Think about your family. Do you really want to spend the rest of your life in prison? Shut up. The criminal shouted and threatened UAI. If you dare to say another word, I'll kill you. You won't. You still need me as a hostage. UAI was very sure. The criminal pinched UAI's wound. He stared at UAI viciously like a poisonous snake. Shut up. Ask her to come out. He Ask who to come out. He brain quickly turned. Thinking of something, he tentatively called, Chin. What? Shi Shang walked out of the darkness. His iron sword hit the ground, making a crisp sound. He It's really her. Didn't you say you wouldn't come? Why is she here? You go over there. Hurry up. The criminal pointed at Shi Shang and asked her to go over to He I'll go over just because you asked me to. How dare you? Shi Shang sneered. If you don't go over, I'll kill her. Ming Shu shrugged and walked over to the main group. Hurry up. If you shout again, I won't go over. The criminal. Why was she threatening him instead? Who was the culprit here? Ah! The criminal suddenly screamed and let go of UAI. But the next second, he pulled her back. UAI anxiously hit the criminal's eyes with her elbow. The criminal felt the pain and completely let go of UAI. UAI immediately broke free from him and ran toward the main group. The police quickly rushed forward and subdued the criminal. The criminal was pressed to the ground. He turned his head and glared at Shi Shang fiercely, as if he wanted to stab Shi Shang to death. He was distracted by Shi Shang, so UAI took advantage of the loophole. Shi Shang smiled sweetly at the criminal. BBB, really hope you kill the FL Sama. The criminal was taken away. UAI was also sent to the hospital. The man they caught was not the vice president. When they arrived, the vice president was already dead. This man ran away as soon as he saw them. Wasn't it obvious that something was wrong? He Xin walked to Shisheng. Why are you here? Didn't she refuse to come down? He ran away when I wasn't here. Wasn't this the plot in novels? If you didn't block the back door, you would have wasted your time. As a veteran player who knew the plot well, if she didn't have this common sense, how could she play the game? Although what she said made sense, He Xin still felt that something was wrong. He Xin looked down. Is this a toy sword? Shisheng raised the sword and slashed at the back door in front of them. The whole door was cut in two. Half of it fell to the ground, while the other half was still standing. He Xin. This wasn't a toy. She was holding a real sword and waving it around. Most importantly, he didn't know where she kept the sword. It was so long. It didn't look like a soft sword. She couldn't have wrapped it around her waist, right? Captain He. Someone called He Xin from afar. He glanced at Shisheng. I'll deal with you when we get back. Let's go. Shisheng dragged the sword and followed He Xin. She took 2 steps and stopped. She frowned slightly and touched her chest. There was a throbbing and a little uncomfortable. Feng Xiai Shisheng looked at the alley behind them. It was dark and led to nowhere. But it was very quiet. There was no movement. I'm stuck here again. Chapter 962. The end of the alley was blocked and there was a building behind it. There was no way to get there. Standing in the dark, Shisheng slowly closed his eyes and relaxed his mind. All the buildings in the dark seemed to shrink and appear in his mind. After a long time, Shisheng suddenly opened his eyes, turned around and ran out of the alley. Get in the car, Qin Yu. He Xin, who had not left, called out to Shisheng. However, the latter quickly ran past him without leaving a single word. He Xin. Was there a ghost chasing after him? Why did he run so fast? Wait, where are you going? Shisheng ran out of the alley and followed the busy street to the entrance of another alley. This alley was deeper and deeper than the previous one. The noise was getting softer and softer, and the surroundings gradually became silent. A sharp sound came from the darkness, accompanied by intermittent gasps. The air was filled with the smell of blood. It was very strong. Shisheng quickened his pace and turned a corner. Suddenly, a light appeared in front of him. Under the light, a figure was crawling on the ground. The ground was covered in blood, and beside him stood a man in black. Shisheng's sudden appearance startled the man. He immediately turned around and ran. Shisheng's sword was faster than him. It cut off his escape route and hit him, knocking him to the ground. The man wanted to get up, but the iron sword's blade was already between his eyebrows. The cold air was pouring into his body. A little bit more and he would die. The man looked at the iron sword in horror. What was this thing? Shisheng slowly walked closer and looked down at the man. You! Shisheng kicked the man. The man's voice disappeared and his head hung down weakly. Shisheng calmly tied him up before walking over to the figure prostrating on the ground. He took a deep breath and was about to turn the man over. In the blink of an eye, a rusty iron rod flew towards Shisheng. Shisheng grabbed his hand easily. Look at you. You won't die for the time being. The man's face was stained with blood, and his blood-stained hair stuck to his thin face. His eyes were filled with hatred, a hatred that could destroy the world. Who are you? Me. Shisheng reached out a hand and brushed the hair in front of his forehead, revealing his eyes. I'm your future wife. Heh. The man chuckled sarcastically. You've learned how to play such tricks now? Shisheng ignored his sarcasm and checked his body. There were a few wounds on his body. Although he was bleeding badly, they were not fatal. Why didn't you run away just now? None of the injuries were fatal. If he were to lie here and wait for death, there would be cat biscuits. The hatred in Jiangsu's eyes grew stronger, like a raging fire that wanted to burn her into ashes. You know the answer. What? Shisheng was dumbfounded. I don't know anything, okay? Get up first. Shi Shang wanted to help him up, but Jiang Su couldn't stand up. Shi Shang then realized something was wrong. Your leg. Isn't this your masterpiece? Why are you so surprised? Shi Shang. Flips table was this man filled with hatred really her Feng Ci? He wanted to destroy the world at any moment. Shi Shang tied his hands and searched his body. After making sure there were no weapons, he picked him up. Can we go to the hospital? Jiang Su, who was carried in a princess's arms, felt something was wrong. He asked warily, Who are you? Your future wife. Shi Shang answered matter-of-factly. Can we go to the hospital? Jiang Su answered after a while, No. Shi Shang frowned. She definitely couldn't go back to her home. If Li Lan saw her carrying such a big man home, she would be furious. It was so late. She could only go to the hotel. But she had to take another man with her. She couldn't go alone. Shi Shang thought for a while and asked Iron Sword to take care of the man. He took Jiang Su to the hotel first, and then came back to take the man in through the window. Looking at the woman who climbed in through the window, Jiang Su was a little confused. When he came up just now, he saw the elevator stopped on the 18th floor. She climbed to the 18th floor from the bottom? And she took this man with her. Was he hallucinating because of the torture? Jiang Su closed his eyes. He couldn't run away now. He could only hope that the person who found him could hurry up. Shi Shang went into the room, closed the window and drew the curtains. He found a chair and tied the man up. Seeing that he was an eyesore, he pulled the quilt on the bed to cover him. What's your name? Shi Shang sat on the bed and looked at the man on the bed. Who are you? What was her purpose? Qin Yu. Qin Yu. No one knew him. Maybe it was a fake name. Shi Shang took out his police ID and put it in front of Jiang Su. Look, Qin Yu, I'm from the criminal investigation team of the Municipal Bureau. I'm not sent by anyone, and I have no purpose for you. You don't have to guess what I want to do. Jiang Su looked at the ID carefully and became more sarcastic. He said sarcastically, Police? I really don't know what's the use of trash like you. I also think those trash are useless. Shi Shang nodded in agreement. Jiang Su, aren't you one of those trash? Sure enough, you were sent by those people. Shi Shang put away the ID. I'll bandage your wound first. It's better to go and find a doctor, in case you're disabled. A simple bandage to make sure she didn't die was okay, but it was impossible to treat her properly. This was Feng Ci. She would be distressed if he was disabled. Yes. Go and catch, Pui, get a doctor here. Shi Shang murmured the last sentence, but the room was so quiet that Jiang Su couldn't hear it. I'll be back soon. You'd better not run away. Shi Shang covered Jiang Su with a quilt again. Jiang Su closed his eyes and ignored her with an expression of, You can do whatever you want. Shi Shang stuffed that person into the cupboard and left the iron sword in the room. She was still a bit worried about leaving him alone in the same room as that man. It was late at night, and it was not easy to find a doctor. They searched several streets and finally found a doctor who was still at work. The doctor agreed to go to the hotel with Shi Shang after they offered him 3 times the price. Shi Shang took the doctor back to the hotel. There was only one light in the room. The doctor looked around. Where's the patient? Shi Shang pointed to the slightly raised bed, walked over and lifted the quilt. The quilt was lifted, and the iron sword cut from the side. But when it was about to touch Shi Shang, the iron sword suddenly stopped. No matter how hard Jiang Su tried, the iron sword couldn't move forward. Shi Shang took the iron sword and pressed him back on the bed. His voice was a little cold. I didn't leave it for you to use against me. The doctor was speechless. What was going on? Something was wrong. Should he call the police? Shi Shang took the iron sword and got off the bed. Take care of him. The doctor looked at the sword in Shi Shang's hand, swallowed, and walked to the bed, trembling. He'd better pretend he didn't see anything. He had already come in, and there was no chance for him to leave. Boo-hoo! He regretted it so much. He shouldn't have been so greedy. Asterisk a new week. Votes were cast. Tips were sent. It's up to you to get me on the list. Chapter 963. The doctor trembled as he applied medicine on Jiang-Su's wound. When he was dealing with his leg, the doctor looked a little shocked. What's wrong? Shi Shang saw that the doctor's expression was not right. The doctor suddenly stepped back and fell to the ground, pointing at Jiang-Su's leg. He. Shi Shang took a few steps forward and looked at Jiang-Su's exposed leg. The knee was red and swollen, and the silver screw cap could be seen in the blood. Shi Shang lifted his other leg. The two legs were exactly the same. She put her hand gently on his leg. Her cold fingertips stimulated Jiang-Su's legs, which had not completely lost their senses. His body involuntarily trembled. Shi Shang lowered her head to look at his wound. Her face was expressionless. Her drooping hair hid all the emotions in her eyes. After a long time, she looked up and asked the doctor calmly, "Can you deal with it?" The doctor's face was pale and he shook his head hard. This needs to go to a professional hospital. I can't deal with it. He must have met some gangsters. It was so scary. Mama, he wanted to go home. Deal with the other wounds on his body first. The doctor swallowed his saliva. He was drenched in cold sweat and trembled as he got up. Shi Shang took out a new cell phone and skillfully inserted the card. After thinking for a while, he dialed a number. It took a while for the phone to be picked up. It was a slightly old voice. "Hello? Grandpa, it's me. Xiao Yu." There was a rustling sound on the other side of the phone. He was probably putting on his clothes. "What's wrong? Why are you calling Grandpa so late? Did something happen? I need a safe hospital." When Old Master Li heard this, he panicked. "What happened? Where are you? Grandpa, can you arrange it for me first?" "Okay, give me the address. I'll send someone to pick you up." Old Master Li was very straightforward. Old Master Li's people arrived soon. Shi Shang asked them to send the doctor out and not to go out and spread the news. "There's a person in the cabinet. Take him with you and don't let anyone see him." Shi Shang pointed at the cabinet. The two men went forward and dragged the person out of the cabinet. Shi Shang walked up to Jiang-Su and touched his forehead. "Bear with it." Jiang-Su turned his face away. Shi Shang didn't care and picked him up. The bodyguard went forward and wanted to take Jiang-Su. "Miss, let us do it. It's very eye-catching for you to carry a man like this." Shi Shang refused softly. "No need. Let's go." The bodyguards looked at each other and escorted Shi Shang downstairs. Fortunately, there weren't many people in the hotel at this time. They didn't meet anyone except for the people on duty in the lobby. The hospital arranged by Old Master Li was in another province and it would take some time for them to arrive. Jiang-Su was held in Shi Shang's arms. He looked at the scenery outside the window that kept retreating. He was so angry. Now, it was even harder for those idiots to find him. Jiang-Su raised his head slightly and looked at the woman who was holding him. She lowered her head and looked at him, but he didn't see his figure in her eyes. What was she thinking? Jiang-Su's fingers moved, but before he could stretch them out, he was held down. "Don't move. I can tolerate you once, but I won't tolerate you a second time." Even if he was Feng Ci, she wouldn't let go of some principles. Jiang-Su was silent for a while and slowly let go of his hands. Shi Shang let go of him and held him in his arms. His eyes followed his body and fell on his legs. For a moment, Jiang-Su felt a strong murderous aura from her. But it was only for a moment. Then, she calmed down, as if it was just an illusion. He didn't know what this woman wanted. He didn't know her. The car arrived at dawn the next day. The bodyguard contacted someone first and someone was waiting outside the hospital. Jiang-Su was sent in for a checkup. Shi Shang sat outside and stared at the red light. "Pa!" A doctor in a white coat came out. Shi Shang stood up immediately. How is he? Miss Qin, your friend's condition is not good. You have to be mentally prepared. Just say it. The doctor glanced at Shi Shang and sighed. He may have to be amputated. Shi Shang's pupils constricted. Is there no other way? This is just the worst-case scenario. We can't be sure for the time being. He has to be hospitalized for a detailed examination. Miss Qin, don't worry. We will do our best to save your friend's leg. Shi Shang sat back and said in a low voice, Sorry to trouble you, doctor. The doctor shook his head and turned to go inside. Jiang Su was lying on the hospital bed, looking at the foggy sky outside. Rays of sunlight were penetrating the darkness. Click. The door of the ward was pushed open. Jiang Su didn't need to turn around to know who it was. I don't care what your purpose is. You won't get anything from me. Oh. What does my Xiao Yu want from you? Jiang Su was startled. He turned around, but it was not the familiar figure standing at the door of the ward, but an unfamiliar old man. He was wearing a tang suit and holding a walking stick. He was smiling at him and looked very kind. Old Master Li closed the door and sat down beside Jiang Su's bed. Jiang Su, many people are looking for you. Jiang Su was on guard and his hands under the quilt clenched into fists. What do you want? You are indeed very talented. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many people who want to get you and even imprison you. There was some admiration in old Master Li's voice. To be able to establish your own power under such circumstances, you will definitely become a sharp sword in the future. Jiang Su sneered. In the end, I was caught by you. Mr. Jiang, I don't know how Xiao Yu met you, but you were brought back by Xiao Yu. I won't do anything to you. Old Master Li smiled. Then what are you doing here? You are not suitable to be with Xiao Yu. I will send you away. Jiang Su's eyes were full of hatred. Continue to imprison me like those people? Old Master Li smiled and was about to speak when Shi Shang came in and interrupted him. Grandpa, he is my man. I hope you won't interfere. Xiao Yu, he is very dangerous. This man, on the blacklist of the country, is a talent that other forces want to get. He is very dangerous, and with other threats, how can he let such a person stay with Xiao Yu? Grandpa, I want him. Shi Shang said seriously. He can only belong to her. Xiao Yu, don't make trouble. Old Master Li knocked the ground with his crutch. Do you know who he is? I don't care who he is, and I don't care what he has done, but from now on, if anyone dares to touch a hair of his, I will let him pay with his life. Old Master Li looked at Shi Shang with some horror. Xiao Yu. Qin Yi, that bastard, how did he teach Xiao Yu? Old Master Li was so angry. Come out with me. Feng Ci. Why am I so unlucky every time? What about the high and mighty? Little fairy. You are the heroine now. What high and mighty do you want? Wait to be spoiled by me. Feng Ci, little fairy. Let me say, the total chapter is over 1,000. Please give me a wave of rewards. Chapter 964. Shi Shang followed Old Master Li out of the ward. Xiao Yu, do you know who he is? Old Master Li looked at Shi Shang sternly. I don't know. How dare you say that when you don't know? He was so angry. Old Master Li was furious. He is Jiang Su, a top hacker. He has hacked many websites and is famous on the blacklist. You can't stay with him anymore. I said that I don't care what he has done in the past. She only wanted him as a person. If his path was full of thorns, she would pave a path for him. Xiao Yu, why are you so disobedient? Old Master Li was so angry that his voice was raised. It's not that you don't care what he has done. It's that he will bring disaster to you and your parents. Was Jiang Su someone they could touch? Shi Shang looked calm. Grandpa, I will protect my parents and the Li family. You don't have to worry. What do you like about him? Shi Shang's lips twitched. It's because of him. That's why I like him. Shi Shang's words were a bit tongue-twisting. Old Master Li, who didn't know the truth, didn't understand at all. He stared for a long time and his attitude softened. Xiao Yu, you have to think about your parents. I'm an old man. I've lived for most of my life. It's enough. But you can't put them in danger because of your stubbornness. Grandpa, I promise you that they won't lose a single hair. Shi Shang raised his hands and swore. I won't do anything that I'm not sure of. No matter how dangerous Jiangsu is, I can solve it. Grandpa, trust me. Old Master Li's chest hurt. Why was this bastard granddaughter so disobedient? He couldn't bear to strangle her to death. Shi Shang looked at Old Master Li suspiciously. Grandpa, why do you know so much about him? Old Master Li glanced at Shi Shang. When your grandpa was young, he also worked for the country. Later on, I got injured in an accident and left to do business. But I still have some friends in the government. He glanced at the ward behind him. They haven't found out that you're here yet, but that's only a matter of time. Xiao Yu, let him go. If you keep him around, you'll be harming him and yourself. Shi Shang raised his eyebrows and looked at Old Master Li. You want to hand him over to the higher-ups? These people who had served their country always had the thought that they should put the country first. They should abandon their families, their wives, and everything else. In the eyes of the Shi Shang, he had been brainwashed. A country did need some people to sacrifice, but for a country to be strong and prosperous, it needed the efforts of the entire country, not the sacrifice of a small number of people. You sacrificed yourself in front, but the people behind you naturally enjoyed the glory, splendor, and wealth that others sacrificed for. Old Master Li coughed. He did have this thought, but seeing how crazy his granddaughter was, he could only suppress this thought. He had been gone for a long time, and he only wanted his descendants to be safe and sound. Mr. Li tried to persuade Shi Shang to let Jiangsu leave. He could promise that he would not tell others his whereabouts. But how could Shi Shang bear to let Jiangsu leave? He refused no matter what. Old Master Li was so angry that he almost hit him with his crutch. Shi Shang said softly, Grandpa, I have grown up and I know what I am doing. Old Master Li shook his head and sighed. I hope so. He left with his crutch, looking a little lonely. Shi Shang turned his head and strode after him. Grandpa, I have something for you. Shi Shang put a red sandalwood bracelet on Old Master Li's wrist. Grandpa, no matter what, don't take it off, not even when you are sleeping. Old Master Li touched the bracelet and it felt very comfortable. It looked a bit old. Old Master Li nodded and left the hospital with his men. Shi Shang watched the elevator door close and then returned to the ward. Jiangsu was sitting in the same position, with his head slightly tilted, revealing his beautiful neck. He did not look back and said sarcastically, Have you discussed how to deal with me? Shi Shang walked forward slowly, pinched his chin, turned his head over and kissed him. Jiangsu's eyes widened and his body stiffened, allowing her to do whatever she wanted. Shi Shang did not go deep, just tasting his lips. When she touched him, many images flashed through Jiangsu's mind. He could only vaguely see some fragments, which were strange but made his heart ache. Yes, it was heartache. He actually felt heartache after being kissed by someone. A familiar breath swept over, covering his head and pressing him down. The air around him was disappearing and the sense of suffocation was getting stronger. Damn you, idiot, breathe. Jiangsu woke up suddenly and a large amount of fresh air rushed into his lungs. A layer of red appeared on his face, covering his previous morbid paleness. Jiangsu reacted and immediately shrank back. But he pulled his wound and the pain made his face pale again. Shi Shang stabilized his body. Don't move. Jiangsu gritted his teeth and waved away Shi Shang's hand. Don't touch me. Shi Shang tilted his head, put his hands on both sides of him and leaned over. You have kissed me. How about giving yourself to me? Get lost. Jiangsu shrunk his body and buried himself in the quilt. He was so confused that he didn't know how to describe it. The room quieted down. He knew that she had not left. He could feel her. Jiangsu reached out and touched his chest. His breathing became heavier and the sound of his heartbeat rang clearly in his ears, as if it was about to jump out. He had never felt like this before. He was flustered and at a loss. Shang tugged at his quilt. "I told you, I won't let anyone touch a single strand of your hair." The sound of footsteps gradually faded away. After the slight sound of the door closing, the whole ward returned to silence. Jiangsu slowly pulled down the quilt. He did not know if it was because he was suffocating, but his face was slightly red. He stared at the door of the ward for a while, and the red on his face gradually faded and was replaced by a weak, pale face. Shang received a call from He Xian as soon as he left the ward. Old Master Li helped Shang to lie and said that he would take her to meet a friend, so she was now on leave. At this time, He Xian called her only because there might be some progress in the Dong's case. Shang pressed the answer button when the ringtone was about to be cut off. "Captain He Xian spoke very fast. "Qin Yu, I just want to tell you that the case has been solved." "Solved?" Shang raised his eyebrows slightly. "Who did you catch?" "Dong Chun was the one who bribed Lu Fan to kill his wife. Then, he hired someone to kill the vice president who worked for him." He Xian gave Shang a simple explanation of what had happened. "Why did he want to kill his wife?" Although Dong Chun did not care about his wife as much as he said, he was not the kind of person who really put his interests first. He cared about his wife, but she was not as important as his power and status. Chapter 965. The victim caught him talking about dirty things with the vice president. Dong Chun was afraid that she would tell others, so he killed her. The 5 victims were also found out that they were all killed by Dong Chun. They not only asked for a high price, but also instigated others not to give up the land if they didn't pay. Dong Chun planned to kill several of their leaders and successfully got the land. Did Dong Chun plead guilty? Yes, we won't close the case so soon if he didn't. He Xian's tone didn't sound very relaxed. But there is no clue about R, except for the letter, there is no more movement. Well, I won't talk to you anymore. You'd better get back to the team as soon as possible. Beep beep beep. Shang held the mobile phone, and it took a while for her to react. Where did He Xian get her mobile phone number? The one she used before was confiscated by him and he didn't return it to her? Shang called He Xian back. He Xian told her that it was Qin Yi who asked someone to keep it. She called Qin Yi, so he was not surprised. "Miss Qin, the doctor is calling you." The bodyguard came from the side. Shang put the mobile phone back in her pocket and followed the bodyguard to the doctor's office. The doctor told Shang that to take out the things inside, there was a 90% chance that he would need to amputate, which was very risky. Even without amputation, the possibility that he could stand up was very small. "Miss Qin, please discuss with Mr. Jiang and let me know when you have finished your discussion, so that I can arrange the operation for you." The doctor politely sent Shang out of the office. Shang nodded slightly and walked back with the things. Outside the ward, Shang rubbed her face and pushed the door in. Jiangsu seemed to be asleep, but when she opened the door, he woke up in an instant. He glanced at Shang vigilantly, and his muscles were tight. Seeing the person at the door, Jiangsu couldn't help but think of the picture of her kissing him just now, and his ears burned instantly. Shang walked to the bed calmly, pulled out a chair and sat down, and put the document in front of him. "You choose." Jiangsu frowned, and his eyes wandered back and forth between the document and Shang. After a long time, he picked up the document and quickly read through it. The hatred in his eyes rose like a tide. His hands kept tightening, and the paper was slightly distorted by his strength. A pair of hands held him from the side, and a soft voice fell into his ears. "I won't let anyone who hurt you go. Now, you only need to choose one. Whether you can stand up or not, I will be by your side." Jiangsu's voice trembled. Why? He had never met her, nor did he know her. Why did he have to do this to him? The ward fell into a strange silence. Jiangsu could only hear his own heartbeat, which was so clear. Bang, bang, bang. He heard her voice echoing in the empty room. Every word seemed to be pulled into a thread, wrapping around his heart and squeezing into his tightly shut heart. The light shone brightly and dispelled the darkness. Because you are the person I've been looking for, the person who will accompany me for the rest of my life. Before Jiangsu had time to feel it, Shishang's voice sounded again. This time, it was not so polite. Hurry up and choose. Why are you dawdling? Jiangsu. He actually thought that she liked him. How ridiculous. Such a bad attitude. This choice would determine his future life. She actually used this kind of attitude to ask him to choose which one was better. The door of his heart that had just cracked open was slammed shut with a bang. Jiangsu picked a document and handed it to Shishang. You are indeed the person I like. Shishang nodded with satisfaction. Don't worry. If you really can't walk, I'll be happy to carry you every day. Jiangsu. Was this something a human would say? He suddenly wanted to strangle her. Because of the preoperative preparation, Jiangsu was tortured every day. Shishang was also watching from the side. Jiangsu didn't realize that this woman was so bad before. But every time he was in great pain, she would be very patient and serious with him. Jiangsu didn't understand her. At least, he couldn't understand the way she acted. She seemed to care about him a lot, but sometimes, she didn't seem to care about him that much. What's this? Jiangsu looked at the black thing that Shishang handed to him with a look of disgust. It's good stuff. Open your mouth. Jiangsu kept his mouth shut and refused to eat it. Who knew what she gave him? I'll say it one last time. Open your mouth. Jiangsu pursed his lips and shook his head. I told you nicely, but you didn't listen. You just had to force I to be rough. Shishang pinched Jiangsu's chin and fed him the thing rudely. Jiangsu. Why didn't those idiots come to save him? After feeding him, Shishang stared at him for a long time, as if to confirm something. After a long time, Shishang muttered, It seems that there are no side effects. Jiangsu. So what did you give me? You don't even know if there are any side effects. Ever since that day, Jiangsu was often forced by Shishang to eat all kinds of strange things. Sometimes, there would be a reaction, sometimes there wouldn't. This woman definitely didn't like him. Absolutely. Yes. No. But. Yes. On the day of Jiangsu's surgery, Shishang sent him out of the operation room in silence. Her face was solemn and Jiangsu thought that she would say something touching. Unexpectedly, she suddenly said, I hope you're still alive when you come out. Jiangsu. If the operation failed, he would just lose his leg. It wouldn't cost him his life. She made it sound like he was going to die. What did she mean? The nurse pushed Jiangsu to the operation room. Shishang followed her for 2 steps and was stopped by the nurse. Miss Qin, please wait outside. Shishang pushed the nurse away and rushed to Jiangsu's side. He pressed the bed and leaned over to kiss Jiangsu. After a minute, Shishang let go of Jiangsu and winked at him. When you come out, I'll take you to take revenge. Jiangsu unconsciously licked the corner of his lips. Her warmth was still there. It wasn't as disgusting as he thought. Instead, it was a little nostalgic. Shishang slowly let go of his hand and watched the nurse send him into the operation room. The operation lasted for a long time. Shishang waited outside. She had been playing games and didn't look nervous at all. The bodyguards beside her couldn't figure out what Shishang was thinking. People kept falling in the game interface, and the brilliant light of skills flashed through her calm eyes. Shishang had killed as many people as Jiangsu had been in the operation. His name was so red that it was almost black. When the light in the operation room went off, Shishang's fingers loosened and the phone screen turned gray. The character was lying in the map and a pop-up box popped up. Your character is dead. Please choose the method of resurrection. Resurrection on the spot. Resurrection in the city. Someone came out of the operation room. First it was the nurse, then the doctor. The doctor looked at Shi Sheng. The operation was a success. Shi Sheng's lips curled up slowly. How could her character die so easily? Flip the table. I used so many good things on him and it still didn't work. She could only destroy a world to calm down. Asterisk, please vote. Please, he would ask for anything. Chapter 966. Shi Sheng hadn't been to the police station for a long time, so many of them felt unfamiliar. Well, they weren't familiar with each other in the first place. Shi Sheng entered the Criminal Investigation Unit. The entire unit was as busy as it had been when she had left. When she returned, these people only glanced at her before going back to their own work. Shi Sheng looked at the glass in the middle of the room. There were some notes stuck on it and a complicated relationship chart. It looked messy. She walked closer to take a look and grabbed a passerby. Isn't the Dong Corporation's case closed? The passerby was old Zhang. He had a good temper and answered Shi Sheng's questions. You haven't come to work for a long time. 3 days ago, there was another case. The victim was Dong Chun's nanny. Old Zhang pointed at a note. This sentence was found at the crime scene. It's exactly the same as the sentence found in the baby's swaddling clothes. Lust will make you lose your sight. God will deprive you of your right to live. Hell is waiting for you. The nanny was alone at home when she died. She was hung from the chandelier in the living room. There were no signs of other people at the crime scene. It looked more like a suicide attempt. If it weren't for the letter, it might have been a suicide attempt. Brother Zhang. Someone called old Zhang. Shi Sheng looked in the direction of the voice. It was the female lead, whom he hadn't seen for a long time. She seemed a little displeased. It was obvious that her displeasure was directed at Shi Sheng. Shi Sheng raised his middle finger without a word. Displeasure my ass. Come and hit me if you dare. UAI. This woman dared to provoke her. She hadn't come to work for a long time, but she was so arrogant. Did she think that she could do whatever she wanted just because she had someone backing her? Old Zhang was afraid that the two of them would quarrel, so he quickly stood in front of Shi Sheng to block their line of sight. He nodded at Shi Sheng. I'll go over first. There are files over there. You can take a look if you want. Now that the entire Criminal Investigation Unit was involved in this case, everyone could see the files. After old Zhang left with UAI, Shi Sheng looked away and went to He Xian's office. Xiao Yu, you're back. He Xian gestured for Shi Sheng to sit down. I thought you weren't coming back. Shi Sheng put on a fake smile. Captain He, you're thinking too much. If he didn't come back, where would he go to see the female lead? He Xian couldn't wait for her to not come. Serving this rich young miss was much harder than catching those criminals. He Xian laughed dryly. I've been busy at the station recently. It's good that you're back. There's a case for you to take charge of. You want me to be in charge alone? You should train as well. He Xian was afraid that Shi Sheng would refuse to do it, so he quickly added, this case is not difficult. You have a senior with you. The case is outside. They have already started investigating. It's not easy for you to go in now. He Xian obviously did not want Shi Sheng to be involved in this matter. Shi Sheng guessed that it was Qin Yi's order, and she didn't insist. She took the information He Xian gave her and prepared to leave. Captain He. Shi Sheng suddenly turned around. Where's my tablet and phone? He Xian's expression changed. That. Last time when you were collecting your phone, someone suddenly rushed in and caused trouble. Your tablet was broken, but your phone is fine. Was it broken? The tablet was indeed broken. He couldn't even turn it on. Don't worry. This loss is on our team. I've already reported it for you to get a new one. Shi Sheng didn't care about this small amount of money. Have you caught the traitor? Shi Sheng raised his eyebrows and looked at He Xian. He Xian shook his head. The criminal police who were in charge of the 5 cases have been transferred. I've asked someone to investigate. He died in the line of duty not long ago. At this time, he died in the line of duty. There must be something fishy. The vice president was killed in advance. Captain He, you don't think that the people in your team are very clean, do you? Qin Yu, don't mention this again. I'll investigate it. He Xian's face was serious. They were in the same team. They couldn't be suspicious of each other. Otherwise, it would be bad for their work. The traitor shouldn't be said so casually, but Shang said it in front of so many people. The atmosphere in the team was not very good now. Shang shrugged and took the things out. Shang went to borrow tools from other departments. She sat alone in her seat and tinkered with her tablet. You know how to repair tablets? Hua Xiao came in from somewhere. He stood beside Shang. His face was expressionless, and his tone was cold. Shang looked up at Hua Xiao. Why is the male lead suddenly talking to me? Did he not take his medicine before leaving the house? Or did he eat too much? There's a conspiracy. It's none of your business. Shang lowered her head and continued to tinker with her tablet. Hua Xiao stood beside her and looked at her. Shang put all the parts in place and turned on the tablet. The screen flashed and went black. Hua Xiao was about to speak when the screen lit up again. The screen flashed and returned to normal. Shang frowned slightly. Someone had touched her tablet. The tablecloth on the tablet would be changed every time she turned it on and off. There was a pattern. But now that she turned it on, there was a tablecloth in between. It could also be broken. There was nothing important in it. Shang didn't even lock it, but she was still vigilant. She opened some documents to check. It was obvious that someone had tampered with them. Mr. Hua, what are you doing? Shang put the tablet on the table and looked at Hua Xiao with an unfriendly expression. This person had been standing here all this time. F***CK. Miss Qin, you still owe me a sum of money. Have you forgotten? Shang was furious. I also said that the car is outside. If you're not happy, you can smash it back. If you didn't move your car when I asked you to, would I smash your car? Now you're still harping on this. Are you out of your mind? I'm not Miss Qin. She wouldn't do such a thing. Ha! I'm not Mr. Hua either. I don't have money or my life. Shang grinned at Hua Xiao, her face full of malice. If you don't get lost, don't blame me for being rude. Hua Xiao turned around expressionlessly. He took a few steps and said, Miss Qin, you've been away for so long. Where did you go? Shang answered immediately, prostitution. What does it have to do with you where I go? Why aren't you concerned about the female lead? Why are you talking nonsense with me? You're crazy. Hua Xiao. Hua Xiao took a deep breath and left the criminal investigation unit. Diagonally across the street, Yuai glared hatefully at Shang as she watched Hua Xiao's departing figure. Perhaps it was because her gaze was too obvious. Shang suddenly raised his head and looked in her direction. Yuai immediately shrank to the side, and the wall blocked his view. Yuai leaned against the wall and calmed her breathing. After waiting for about a minute, she walked out as if nothing had happened and returned to her seat. This is the last reminder. New Year's Eve lottery on the 27th. I'm a bread, a fleeting moment in scenery. Book review lottery on the 28th. Mo Nan, like March, it won't be distributed after today. If you haven't received it yet, please join the welfare group as soon as possible. You can find the group number in the pinned post. Chapter 967. Shang stared at the tablet for a long time. Someone had copied her files. He Xian? No way. He Xian couldn't even use a computer well and couldn't understand the files. It couldn't be him. If he really needed anything, he would have called her directly instead of secretly copying the files. Who could it be? According to He Xian, anyone at the scene could be the culprit. Qinyu, have you read the files Captain He gave you? We have to go now. Old Zhang came over with 2 other people. Oh, let's go. Shi Shang put away the tablet and left with old Zhang with the unopened files on the table. Old Zhang knew that Shi Shang hadn't read the files yet. On the way, he kindly explained to Shi Shang. More than 10 hours ago, they received a report that a dog had bitten a person. It's not a murder case. Why are we going there? Shi Shang flipped through the files. Why would a dog bite case be assigned to the Criminal Investigation Unit? Old Zhang flipped through the files and pointed at a photo. The person who was bitten is dead. Cause of death? Shi Shang flipped to the last page but still couldn't find the cause of death. The initial death report said it was rabies, but this report was soon refuted. There's still no news from the forensics team. I heard it's a bit tricky. The minimum incubation period for rabies is 1 week. He died after being bitten for more than 10 hours. This isn't normal. Shi Shang put down the files. What are we going to do now? Old Zhang's mouth twitched. We're going to ask the dog and the victim's family some questions. Oh. Boring. Old Zhang sighed and shook his head. He went to talk to his colleagues. The car stopped in a residential area. Old Zhang asked 2 other people to ask the victim's family while he and Shi Shang went to look for the dog. Shi Shang. Flips table. I'm reduced to looking for a dog. Old Zhang found a few eyewitnesses at that time. A dog. It's not from our neighborhood. It's a big one. Its fur is golden. What do they call it? Golden retriever. Yes. Golden retriever. It looks very dirty. I don't know where it came from. A child fed it. It was fine at that time. Who knew it would suddenly bite someone? Where did it go? It ran away after biting him. Who knows where it went? You must catch it. It's scary to think of such a big dog biting people. The residents' reactions were similar. They didn't know where the dog came from, and they had never seen the dog before. After questioning all the witnesses, Old Zhang turned around to look for Shi Shang, but there was no one around him. Old Zhang was exhausted. Did he still have to take care of a child when he was out on a case? Old Zhang searched the neighborhood for a long time. In the end, under the guidance of the residents of the neighborhood, he found the person in a remote corner of the neighborhood. Don't ask him why he didn't call. Even if he did, no one would answer. Old Zhang looked at Shi Shang, who was squatting in front of a pile of grass and playing games. He was speechless. Qin Yu, what are you doing here? Freeloading Wi-Fi. What? Old Zhang was confused. Did you come all this way just to freeload on the Wi-Fi? There's no Wi-Fi in the neighborhood? Who allowed you to use the Wi-Fi during working hours? Calm down. Let's go back and wait for them. Let's see what they find. He shouldn't have been with her just now. Shi Shang stood up with his phone and kicked the grass beside him. There was a big gap in the iron railing outside that was blocked by the grass. It seemed to have been forcibly twisted. Shi Shang didn't even raise his head. There's dog hair here. Are you sure you don't want to check it? Old Zhang had already turned around. When he heard Shi Shang's voice, he immediately turned his head and looked at the gap that was big enough for a dog to crawl through. He squatted down and checked. There was indeed a lot of dog hair. Old Zhang looked at Shi Shang strangely and called someone to come over. When these people were collecting evidence and didn't look up, he finally put away his phone and looked outside the iron railing. What's over there? University. Old Zhang took the time to answer. Most of the residents in the neighborhood are school employees. There was no fence here at first. It was added later. What university? Old Zhang looked at the information in his hand. Huali Medical University. It's a private university. Medical university? Rabies? Dogs? Shi Shang imagined a scene in a novel. Maybe there was a medical freak who was researching something strange, and then the dog accidentally ran out and bit him. I might already know the truth. Shi Shang waved his hand. Let's go and take a look. Old Zhang was about to go over. He nodded and walked out of the neighborhood. After walking for a while, he didn't hear anything behind him. He turned around and saw Shi Shang rolling up his sleeves and nimbly flipping over the railing. He landed outside in a handsome posture. Old Zhang. Couldn't he be more considerate of a middle-aged man like him who couldn't walk properly? Why did he have to climb over the wall when there was a door? When old Zhang went in through the main entrance, Shishang was already out of sight. It was not the school holidays yet. Shishang asked a few students who were the weirdest in their school. Students were the most familiar with gossip. After asking a few students, Shishang got 2 names. One was Professor Zhou, and the other was this year's new student, Jiang Su. Other than attending classes, Professor Zhou was always in his laboratory. Other than class time, he never interacted with others. However, he had written several papers that had won awards. He was once the director of a hospital. Later on, he had become a professor here for some unknown reason. Jiang Su was even weirder. He carried a skull around the school all day long. When someone saw him at night, they fainted immediately. Professor Zhou had his own laboratory, so he was even more suspicious. Shishang went straight to Professor Zhou's laboratory. Professor Zhou's laboratory was very close to the neighborhood. It was less than 50 meters away. Professor Zhou was indeed very suspicious. Shishang looked at the building and walked down the stairs. The laboratory was in the basement. The voice-activated light on the stairs was probably broken. Shishang stomped for a long time, but it didn't light up. Shishang took out his iron sword and went down to the basement. There was a metal door in the basement, but it was closed at the moment. Next to it was a device that could only be accessed by swiping a card. Shishang gestured with his sword. If she split the device open and Professor Zhou was not the murderer, how much money would she have to pay? After thinking for a while, Shishang put away his iron sword and took out his tablet to fiddle with it. Ding! The door of the laboratory opened slowly. Shishang tilted his head and looked inside. There was a man in a white lab coat. He was slightly plump and bald. When the light shone on him, it reflected the light. He was also looking in the direction of the door. When he saw someone he didn't know, he was on guard. Who are you? How did you get in? Shishang waved the tablet in his hand. I got in like this. The man reached out to press the red button on the side, but there was no response. Shishang's light voice spread in the laboratory. I'm sorry. My hand slipped. I might have broken the circuit. Chapter 968. The man was none other than Professor Zhou. He stared at Shishang warily. Who the hell are you? I'm a police officer. Shishang took out his badge and showed it to Professor Zhou. Professor Zhou looked at the badge and his chubby face was filled with anger. How dare you break into my lab? I'm going to sue you. Whatever. Shishang took back his badge. Professor Zhou, you should explain this to me before you sue me. Shishang took out the photo of the victim and faced it to Professor Zhou. Professor Zhou glanced at it and was puzzled. What's that? Obviously, this is a dead person. Shishang smiled. What does a dead person have to do with me? Why do I have to explain? Professor Zhou snorted. Shishang spread his hands. Maybe I think you killed her. Professor Zhou's expression changed, but it was quickly covered by anger. He shouted at Shishang, What do you think? You don't have any evidence and you're accusing me of murder. This is false accusation. Is this how the police do things nowadays? Those idiots are not as effective as me. Professor Zhou was speechless. Who are those idiots talking about? The police? He now suspected that this woman was crazy. Professor Zhou took a deep breath. You can't accuse me of murder without evidence. If you have any questions, please follow the standard procedure. Now, please leave. I'm already here. How can I leave? It would be embarrassing to go back empty-handed. Professor Zhou's face darkened. I don't care who you are. Get out of my lab right now. Professor Zhou, what are you doing? Shishang ignored Professor Zhou's roar and approached him. Stop. I said stop. Shishang approached Professor Zhou step by step. Professor Zhou was forced to step back. Stop. Don't come any closer. Shishang didn't stop and continued to approach him. Professor Zhou opened the drawer of the lab table behind him and took out a gun. He pointed the muzzle at Shishang. Professor Zhou calmed down. His face was a little twisted. You asked for it. Shishang said calmly, Yes, I asked for it. But can you kill me? He knew that Professor Zhou would have cat biscuits. What if there isn't? If there's nothing wrong with him, then you're just casually framing him. Host, don't you think your actions are too much? Shishang replied calmly, When have I ever wronged anyone? Although he didn't want to admit it, it seemed to be the case. His host was a little unreasonable, but she didn't wrong anyone. Little girl, don't be so impulsive in your next life. Professor Zhou smiled sinisterly. Originally, I could have let you go after you left, but now... Ah. The screams resounded throughout the laboratory, echoing through the open door to the top. Shishang stepped on Professor Zhou's wrist and said arrogantly, Cut the crap. By the time you're done, it'll be too late. If he wanted to chat, he had to tie her up first. It was useless to tie the male and female leads up. He had to kill them first. Due to the pain, Professor Zhou's face contorted even more. He glared hatefully at Shishang, his gaze as if she had killed his father. Shishang knocked Professor Zhou out before casually flipping through the lab. There were all kinds of data and observation logs. From his description, the subject seemed to be a human. Shishang checked Professor Zhou's computer and saw 2 surveillance cameras on an encrypted computer. In the surveillance cameras, a man and a woman were locked in separate rooms. They were wearing the same white clothes, which were covered in dirt. They looked thin and lifeless. Sure enough, medical students were all freaks. How scary! He was scared to death. Shishang looked around the laboratory. According to the student's description, Professor Zhou ate, drank, and defecated in the laboratory. He couldn't have locked her outside. There must be a secret room in the laboratory. Old Zhang heard the screams and came to the laboratory. When he arrived, the first thing he saw was Professor Zhou lying on the ground. He didn't know if he was dead or alive. Shishang was standing beside him, eating melon seeds. Old Zhang walked up nervously and checked Professor Zhou's pulse. After making sure he was still alive, he yelled at Shishang angrily, Qinyu, what did you do? Old Zhang was famous for his good temper. If he was angry, it proved how angry he was. He's not dead. Why are you so nervous? Shishang was eating melon seeds calmly. Besides, I was the one who put him down. You can't be blamed for it. Qinyu. They were just investigating. They didn't get anything out of her, but she put the professor down. Shishang pointed to the side. Look at that. Be prepared. Old Zhang looked in the direction Shishang was pointing. His pupils dilated slowly. It was a transparent glass wall. From the outside they could see inside. It was divided into several rooms. The 2 rooms in the middle were what Shishang saw in the surveillance cameras. In the other rooms, there were some strange animals. Some had fallen fur and maggots, but they were still alive. Some had already rotted, and there was a pile of rotten meat. Even though they were separated by the glass, they could smell the rotting smell. Ugh. Old Zhang looked away and retched. How could she be eating melon seeds so calmly after seeing those things? Was she really a girl? He might have met a fake girl. Old Zhang held back his nausea and called the bureau to send professionals to deal with it. Professor Zhou was taken away. The police didn't act rashly because they weren't sure about the situation behind the glass wall. They waited until Professor Zhou woke up before they started to clean up the area behind the glass wall. Professor Zhou had some mental problems. It was because of this that he was fired by the hospital and sent to receive treatment. But Professor Zhou came to this school to be a professor. He wanted to make a big career out of it. He wanted to prove that there was nothing wrong with his brain and make those people who said that he had a brain problem look at him in a different light. At first, he only did experiments on small animals. But later, he couldn't continue to study small animals, so he turned his attention to people. Those two people were both students of the school. When they went missing, it was a big deal. Who knew that they were locked up by Professor Zhou? As for the dog, Professor Zhou was a little absent-minded. At first, he denied that he didn't know what kind of dog it was, but later, he said that it might have run out when he wasn't paying attention. The only thing he didn't have a clue about was the dog that bit people. The police ordered that the dog must be found. It couldn't be outside. If it bit people, it would be terrible. This case was solved in a baffling way. They hadn't even started investigating, but the case was about to be closed. Little fairy. It's February. Spring is coming. Do you want to go on a date? Cherub. Speak human language. Little fairy. Vote. Cherub. No vote. No vote. Hit me. Shang draws his sword. Cherub. Prince Charming Shang, we're on your side. Shang. She's bribing me. Vote. Cherub. I didn't expect you to be like this. Aggrieved. Chapter 969. Shang stayed at the police station for a while. It was almost 10 o'clock when she got home. She took out the key to open the door. There was a strong smell of blood in the room. The light in the living room was on. There were blood stains on the floor, which were heading towards the bathroom. Shang. How long had it been since she left, and it had already become a murder scene? No, that idiot. Shang closed the door and went straight to the bathroom. The door of the bathroom was closed. Shang kicked it open. There was more blood in the bathroom. The floor was covered with blood. There was a person lying in the bathtub. His arms were hanging outside and his head was hanging on the edge of the bathtub. He was motionless. Shang checked his pulse. He was still alive. Shang went out of the bathroom and turned to the bedroom. Jiangsu was sitting in a wheelchair at the door of the bedroom. His clothes were full of blood. The blood on his hands had dried and was hanging casually on the wheelchair. There was hatred in his eyes. It was the same as when they first met. Shang, damn, this idiot killed someone in the bathroom. How could she use this bathroom in the future? They looked at each other for a few seconds. The hatred in Jiangsu's eyes slowly faded. Shang went to get a basin of water silently. He cleaned the blood on his hands and carried him into the bathroom to change his clothes. It was not the first time that Shang changed his clothes for him. Jiangsu could accept it calmly. Shang buttoned his clothes for him and asked, "Do you have wounds on your hands?" Jiangsu looked at his legs and said nothing. Shang followed his gaze and pursed his lips. He put a thin blanket on him and continued to ask, "Are you hurt?" Jiangsu raised his head slightly and stared at Shang for a few seconds. Then he shook his head slowly. Her reaction was completely different from what he had expected. She didn't panic or get angry. She just asked him calmly if he was hurt. Shang tucked him into the quilt. "Go to sleep." Jiangsu suddenly reached out and grabbed her. "I killed someone." Shang nodded to show that he knew. Jiangsu emphasized, "I killed someone." "I know. You don't have to repeat yourself," Shang shouted back fiercely. "He's not dead." Jiangsu froze for a moment and then lowered his head. "Sleep with me." "I don't have time." Shang shook off Jiangsu, walked 2 steps and then turned back. He asked strangely, "What did you say just now?" She might have been hallucinating. Would this retard be so proactive? "Nothing." Jiangsu retracted his hand and turned to the other side. His side sank slightly, and he felt a chill on his back. A warm body leaned over from behind, and roughly pulled him into an embrace. He leaned against her chest and heard her steady heartbeat. At this moment, it was a very beautiful sound. "You're scared." Jiangsu reached out and hugged her waist. "I'm scared." When he attacked, he didn't feel the pleasure that he had imagined. There was only a kind of emptiness that seemed to require more killing to fill. But the moment he saw her, that desire suddenly disappeared. So I asked you to wait for me to come back. Why didn't you listen to me? Shi Shang sneered. He deserved it. It was all his own fault. She asked someone to send the man over and didn't ask the bodyguards to leave. But they left. Obviously, it was Jiang Su's order. Jiang Su suddenly let go of Shi Shang and propped himself up to look at her. Do you really like me? Shi Shang pulled him back and said angrily, otherwise, why should I deal with the body for you? Do you think I have nothing to do? Jiang Su. But the way you talk to me doesn't sound like you like me at all. Jiang Su listened to her heartbeat and didn't know when he fell asleep. For so many years, he had never slept so well. When he woke up the next day, there was no one next to him. The sunlight outside the window came in and coated the whole room with a layer of warm light. Jiang Su moved from the bed to the wheelchair and pushed it out himself. The bathroom was clean, as if what happened yesterday was a dream. Jiang Su pushed the wheelchair into the living room. Shi Shang sat on the sofa with a lot of documents in front of him and some on the ground. He pushed it forward and looked at the paper on the ground. The most conspicuous thing on it was R's cursive signature. You're awake? Jiang Su's body was suddenly lifted up and he was placed on the sofa. Jiang Su's expression was a little strange. Where did she get so much strength? Shi Shang threw the things on the table aside casually, got up and went to the kitchen. He brought out the warm porridge. Eat something. You made it. Yes. She still knew how to make porridge. She wasn't that useless. Jiang Su took the porridge and ate it silently. It didn't taste very good, but it wasn't particularly bad either. Shi Shang sat on the ground and fiddled with the documents. The two of them didn't say anything, but it didn't make Jiang Su feel awkward. It was a very natural way to get along. R's full name is Revenge. Shi Shang looked at Jiang Su. Revenge? Jiang Su nodded. Revenge. This is an organization, a very crazy group of people. How do you know? Shi Shang sat on the sofa. Jiang Su's mouth twitched, full of sarcasm. They once wanted to recruit me. He paused and didn't continue. There were some things he didn't want to mention anymore. Why did you investigate them? A mission. Shi Shang shrugged innocently. I don't want to investigate this group of idiots. You took me in. Aren't you afraid that they will find out? He wasn't a good person either. Shi Shang leaned closer to Jiang Su and said evilly, if possible, I'd rather be a bandit. Jiang Su's eyes were even more strange. You're very strange. Everyone wanted to be a good person. Even a bad person would pretend to be a good person sometimes. He once heard a sentence, human nature was good. He believed it a long time ago, but after what he experienced, this sentence was more like sarcasm. Really? Shi Shang took the bowl away from his hand and sat up straight. How is it strange? Everything is strange. Shi Shang turned to look at him and said firmly, but you don't hate it, do you? Jiang Su. Yes, damn it, he didn't hate it. Instead, he wanted to get more. That kind of thought couldn't be suppressed anymore. There was always a voice in his heart that repeated, she belongs to me, belongs to me. Taking advantage of his distraction, Shi Shang leaned in to kiss him. Jiang Su dodged a little and lost his balance and fell on the sofa. Shi Shang took the opportunity to press down and entangle with him. Behind Jiang Su was a soft sofa. Her breath was overwhelming and took over his world. It was strong and rich, as if it wanted to render his world exclusive to her. Ouch! Jiang Su suddenly gasped. Shi Shang pressed on his leg, and his body couldn't help but bend in pain. Ah, sorry. Shi Shang moved away from him and said with some disdain, you're too delicate. Jiang Su. Don't wait for my leg to recover. He glared at Shi Shang. I want to go back to my room. Go back. Shi Shang moved away. Jiang Su looked at the wheelchair on the other side. When he saw Shi Shang's evil smile, he gritted his teeth. Bring me the wheelchair. Beg me. Jiang Su was angry and wanted to go down. Shi Shang quickly stopped him. Hey, okay, I'm wrong. Don't torture yourself. Asterisk the above content was purely fictional. Chapter 970. I want the computer. As soon as Shi Shang put Jiangsu on the bed, Jiangsu made a request. It's easy for you to order me around now. You can also send me away. Shi Shang gritted his teeth. I'll deal with you when you recover. Jiangsu lowered his eyes. It was hard to say who would be the one to deal with whom. Shi Shang went out and brought the computer in, as well as his own things. Jiangsu, why did you come in? Shi Shang stared back. What are you looking at? I can go wherever I want in my house. Do you still want to control me? Jiangsu silently turned on the computer. He had used the computer yesterday, but the password he entered yesterday was wrong. He was stunned and subconsciously looked at Shi Shang. She knew he had used the computer. It's your birthday. Shi Shang's voice sounded faintly. Jiangsu tried to enter his birthday. As expected, it was opened. He was silent for a while. Will you betray me? The word betray is not in my dictionary. Jiangsu smiled silently. His slender fingertips slowly tapped on the keyboard, making a crisp sound. The two of them did their own things and didn't talk. Time flew by quickly. Jiangsu moved his stiff legs and looked at the person beside the bed. I'm hungry. Shi Shang touched his stomach. Yes, I'm hungry too. Jiangsu, shouldn't she go and cook? Jiangsu was speechless for a while and contacted his people again. Brother Jiang, we'll be there soon. The other party thought Jiangsu was urging them, so he quickly gave an address. Bring up some food for two. Who's coming? Brother Jiang. Who are you with? His brother Jiang was with a woman. A woman. Oh my God. He didn't know how many things had happened during brother Jiang's disappearance. Jiangsu directly pressed the button and looked at Shi Shang. She's my woman. I thought you were alone. Shi Shang was surprised. I didn't expect you to have someone. The storyline Shi Shang received this time didn't have anything to do with Jiangsu. What she knew was from Old Man Li and her own investigations. Jiangsu. Could he just strangle her to death? Dingu looked at the house number. After confirming that it was correct, he reached out to press the doorbell. Just as his hand touched the doorbell, he was bounced to the wall of the corridor by a strong force. The lackeys who came with him were dumbfounded. What was going on? Dingu. He didn't know what was going on either. Just now, he felt as if he had been electrocuted. His entire body was numb, and it was only now that he had recovered. Dingu couldn't contact Jiangsu, and he didn't dare to touch the door casually. He could only wander outside the corridor. Ding-ling-ling. Dingu immediately answered the call. He wanted to cry but had no tears. Brother Jiang, I'm outside. I forgot. It was the female voice that answered him. Just as Dingu was puzzled, the door was opened. A girl stood inside. She had an oval face, arched eyebrows, and the corners of her mouth were slightly upturned. Her eyes were clear, and she was a very beautiful girl. Dingu. It really was a female. Jiang. Where is Brother Jiang? Inside. Shi Shang let them in and put the talisman back on the door. Dingu. Don't tell him that he was bounced back just now because of this feudal superstition? Didn't they say that they were not allowed to propagate feudal superstitions after the founding of the People's Republic? Shi Shang brought them inside. Dingu secretly gave a few of his lackeys a look. When Shi Shang took them into the room and saw Jiangsu sitting on the bed intact, they were slightly relieved. Brother Jiang. Did you bring the thing? Dingu glanced at Shi Shang standing next to him. Jiangsu didn't mean to avoid her. Dingu was surprised. It seemed that they were on the same side. Then why did Brother Jiang say that he was kidnapped? He didn't understand the thoughts of these big shots. Got it. Dingu suppressed his messy thoughts, took out a USB flash drive from the inside pocket and handed it over. When we went there, someone got there before us. Fortunately, we got it back. Jiangsu nodded slightly. Where is the food? The lackeys behind him quickly handed him the food. Dingu took it and felt the temperature. It's a little cold. Brother Jiang, let me heat it up for you. Okay. Dingu gave the food to the lackeys and asked them to heat it up outside. Not long after he went out, there was a scream. Dingu was about to rush out and see when he heard a calm female voice next to him. They may have seen the body in the kitchen. Kitchen. Body. How did these two words come together? You didn't deal with it? Jiangsu looked at Shi Shang. You want me to dispose of the body in broad daylight? Damn it! Jiangsu, the lackey who went out, ran in from outside and said quickly, Brother Ding, there is a body in the kitchen. Dingu. I already know. How could the woman with Brother Jiang be a normal woman? He was too naive. You haven't seen a body. Why are you making such a fuss? Dingu scolded. The lackey was stunned by the scolding. After a while, he walked out in a daze. Brother Jiang, who is this lady? Dingu asked carefully. Jiangsu glanced at Shi Shang and opened his mouth. He didn't know how to introduce her. The kidnapper who kidnapped him? Or his girlfriend? Well, why did the word girlfriend suddenly pop out? Qin Yu. Shi Shang answered indifferently, his wife. Jiangsu frowned slightly. We are not married yet. She was not even an official girlfriend. How could she say that she was his girlfriend? Shameless. Shi Shang said calmly, We have slept together. That doesn't count. They didn't do anything. How could it be called sleeping together? Shi Shang glanced at him coldly. Jiangsu subconsciously pulled the quilt. Dingu. Brother Jiang, what are you talking about? I don't seem to understand. Brother Jiang had a girlfriend. This was more shocking than finding a body in the kitchen. Dingu wanted Jiangsu to deny it, but Jiangsu just quarreled with Shi Shang for a while and didn't refute. So, this was true. Why was it so shocking that Brother Jiang had a girlfriend? Dingu followed Jiangsu for the earliest time. He knew that Jiangsu had a bad temper. When he turned hostile, he would suffer. The most important thing was that Jiangsu wouldn't accept anyone at all. He had something on all of them. But now he was suddenly told that Jiangsu had a girlfriend. Wasn't this a fantasy? However, Dingu couldn't help but believe that Jiangsu really had a girlfriend. And this girl had a bad temper. She was fierce whenever she didn't agree with him. Otherwise, she would mock him. What was more terrifying was that Jiangsu didn't turn hostile. Was this the so-called one mountain is taller than the other? Asterisk Feng Ci. I don't dare to turn hostile. I will be beaten up. I feel so wronged as the male lead. Please turn over. Shi Shang, what did you say? Feng Ci. Wife, I am praising you. Little fairy. He said you were too fierce. Shi Shang, draws sword, little fairy. Stop. I didn't say anything wrong. Why did you cut me? Shi Shang, I am happy. Little fairy, I am so tired. I want to change my daughter. Cherub, cracking melon seeds. Chapter 971. Dingu and others stayed until the evening, and Jiangsu asked them to dispose of the body. Dingu was worried that such a big body would be suspected if he took it down from here. Brother Jiang, are you sure you don't want to send him to prison? Dingu played landlord in the corridor until the early hours of the morning, and then left with the body in the dark. If he didn't have something on him, Dingu would definitely want to rebel. Why did he come to help to dispose of the body? He didn't kill the person. If he was caught, he would be unlucky. The risk is great. Shi Shang didn't know what the USB flash disk Dingu gave to Jiangsu was, but Jiangsu was playing with the computer for a long time. Shi Shang took a few glances. There were all kinds of strange websites, and the language was even more strange. It was like a hodgepodge of languages from all over the world. What kind of omnipotent person can understand this? Very good. The omnipotent person is in front of him. Buzz. The vibration of the mobile phone seemed to disturb Jiang-su. He frowned slightly and looked at Shi Sheng. Shi Sheng leaned over and kissed him. Jiang-su. A woman who always wants to take advantage of him. Shameless. Shi Sheng rubbed his head again and answered the phone. Hello, Dad. Qin Yu. Where are you? Qin Yi seemed to be very angry, and his voice was roaring. Outside. Did something happen? What did you take home the other day? Ah. Where did it come from? He went on a business trip for a few days. As a result, the whole house changed. It was like entering a MLM camp to promote feudal superstition. It's the amulet. Shi Sheng paused. My mother didn't take them all out, did she? She remembered that when she took them back, Li Lan seemed to like those talismans very much. Qin Yi almost gnashed his teeth. What do you think? Shi Sheng. She prepared those just in case. She didn't let Li Lan post all of them. I'm innocent. I won't take the blame. Hurry up and get back to I. Qin Yi was so angry. Don't think you can fly around now. You can't get home in less than an hour. I'll teach you a lesson. Toot toot toot. There was only a busy tone left on the line. Shi Sheng held his phone for a long time before he sighed and went into the bedroom to get his coat. Where are you going? Jiang-su stopped and watched her dress. Let's go home. Empress Alma summons us. Jiang-su pursed his lips. When will you come back? Shi Sheng looked at the time. You know what the leader is talking about. How can he leave without a few hours? I won't come back if it's too late. She probably wouldn't come back either. Li Lan, that daughter complex, wouldn't let her go. You're not worried about leaving me alone at home? What's there to worry about? Aren't your men guarding down there? The Shi Sheng glanced at by Jiang-su. Do you think I'm blind? Goodbye. How could such a person find a boyfriend? Absolutely not. Shi Sheng rolled his eyes. Why don't we go together? No, I'm busy. Shi Sheng raised his eyebrows. Are you sure? Jiang-su didn't answer. All right, let's go. Shi Sheng closed his computer. Just tell me if you want to go with me. I won't laugh at you. Who wants to go with you? Jiang-su snatched the computer back. I'm not going. That's not up to you. Shi Sheng took him down. You have to go even if you don't want to. Qin Yu. Jiang-su's tone suddenly became serious. I can't go out. If someone saw it, she would be implicated. Shi Sheng put on his clothes for him and said arrogantly, If I can't even protect you, how can I dominate the universe? Jiang-su. What do you mean by dominating the universe? Have you watched too many cartoons? Who needs your protection? Qin Yu. When they went out, Jiang-su grabbed Shi Sheng's hand. Once I walk out of this door, I may be exposed. The people who want to get me are enough to destroy the whole Qin family. Jiang-su said. He was a little silent. He was surrounded by danger. He shouldn't be in these dangers. Don't worry, unless they come with a cosmic battleship, they can't move my finger. Shi Sheng snorted. So even if they come with a cosmic battleship, they can only move your finger? Hashtag my host's level of acting cool seems to have improved again. Hashtag Jiang-su. He may not only meet a pervert, but a pervert in the late stage of Chinibu. Shi Sheng brought a man back and said that he was her boyfriend. Li Lan and Qin Yi's expressions were surprisingly consistent. Their family's golden cabbage was eaten by a pig. In the living room, Jiang-su was uncomfortable. He was looked back and forth by Li Lan and Qin Yi as if they wanted to evaluate some world-class awards from him. Qin Yi coughed. Forgive me for being rude, Mr. Jiang. What do you do for a living? It's a necessary process for parents to see their daughter bring a man back. Look at him, how can he still work? Shi Shang asked out of the blue. The three people looked at Shi Shang at the same time. Is this really your boyfriend? How can you talk like this? Shi Shang. Why are you looking at me? I'm telling the truth. Jiang Su resisted the urge to strangle Shi Shang. I'm in the IT industry, but it's not convenient now. That's good. Qin Yi nodded. Now the IT industry is very popular. Is Mr. Jiang from B City? How long have you known my Xiaoyu? We haven't heard her mention you. Jiang Su. Carefully, they have known each other for less than 2 months. However, she brought him back to see her parents. She didn't help him, but she added fuel to the fire. What is this kind of girlfriend for? Jiang Su seriously doubted life at this time. Jiang Su took a deep breath. I'm not from B City, but I stayed in B City after graduating from college. I've known her, Xiaoyu, for a while. So why did he ask that question before she left? Jiang Su's answer was rigorous. He answered according to the information that Shi Shang tampered with him. Even if Qin Yi checked, he couldn't find anything. Mr. Jiang, your leg? Qin Yi asked carefully. After all, this is related to his pain. Shi Shang took Jiang Su's hand and answered for him. It's nothing serious. It's okay to recover. Qin Yi glanced at Shi Shang. Shi Shang smiled. Qin Yi shook his head and continued to ask the next question. After Qin Yi asked, he probably thought that Jiang Su's life resume was quite good, and his attitude was not tough. Mr. Jiang, Xiaoyu is usually spoiled by us. She is a little willful. If there is anything wrong, you should let her go. As parents, naturally, we don't want her to be wronged. When the child grows up, they can't keep her at home all her life. As far as her character is concerned, it's not willful, it's weird. I will. Shi Shang didn't say anything and watched the three-party friendly meeting in silence. She is now eating melon seeds and watching the show. #hashtag today, I'm looking for rose-flavored votes. #hashtag the new month has begun. You have monthly votes again. You can vote. #January 31st, 2017. 01. 2017 winning Little Angel in book review area. Chapter 972. When Shi Shang took Jiang Su away, Qin Yi reacted. Didn't he ask her to come back and talk about the feudal superstitions in the house? Why is the last topic crooked? Qin Yi called Shi Shang again and scolded her. Only then did he vent his anger. Shi Shang is helpless. What did I do wrong? Your father doesn't know that I... Jiang Su's voice sounded from the side. Shi Shang put down his mobile phone. My father's level is too low. Your file belongs to the S level. How could he know? Mr. Li knows because he has acquaintances. The place where he used to work is estimated to be a secret department. Otherwise, how could he know this? If he knows, what do you think he will do to me? Shi Shang looked at the bright window in the distance, and his voice was broken by the night wind. He only has one daughter, and he will not hesitate to send us abroad. If he knew that he must be with Jiang Su, Qin Yi would do so. There is no doubt. You have a good father. Shi Shang turned back and smiled. He will be your father in the future. Jiang Su was stunned. The light in the car was dim and ambiguous. Her smile was clearly reflected in his eyes. It seemed that there was a warm breath wrapped around him, and his whole body was in a warm sea. Jiang Su looked away in a panic. I want to go back. Shi Shang snorted and started the car. Outside the window, the streamers were like light and shadow. Jiang Su looked out of the car, and her thoughts drifted away. It was getting quieter and quieter outside, and gradually she couldn't see the car. Jiang Su returned to her senses. Where are we going? Revenge. Revenge. Jiang Su was a little confused. Revenge for what? Revenge for you, didn't I say? He dared to touch her people. He was tired of living. Jiang-Su's mind flashed. Outside the operating room, she said that when he came out, she would take him to revenge. Do you know who they are? He seemed to have never said, nor did she ask, nor did she check. Shi Shang said innocently, I don't know. Don't know where you are going to revenge? You don't know who they are. How can you revenge? The corners of Shi Shang's lips curled up slowly and he said maliciously, Someone will take me there. Jiang-Su. Where did her confidence come from? Why did he always look like he had everything under control? She wanted to deal with those people by herself? Was she crazy? Jiang-Su took a deep breath and held Shi Shang's hand. Let's go back. They are not easy to deal with. He did not need a woman to stand up for him. But we can't go back. The Shi Shang slammed on the brakes, and the sound of tires rubbing against the ground echoed through the night. There were a few cars in front of them, and there were also cars behind them. There was nowhere to run. The strong light shone from the car in front, making Jiang-Su unable to open his eyes. His hand was held by someone, and there seemed to be something on his wrist. A warmth spread from his wrist. Pa! That voice caused Jiang-Su's entire heart to tremble. He reached out his hand to the side. Qin Yu. It was empty, only the air passing through his fingers. Jiang-Su adapted to the light and looked outside. The woman was walking towards the direction of the car light. Jiang-Su wanted to get out of the car, but the door was locked. He hit the window hard. Qin Yu. Was she crazy? Standing in the light, Shi Shang seemed to be dyed with a layer of white light. She looked at the car over there. Why don't you come out? The space was silent for a while. Someone opened the door. Some people came out one after another and stood respectfully on both sides of the car. Pa pa pa, there was a burst of applause in the car. A man got out of the car. Little girl, you are very brave. Shi Shang looked at her casually. Thank you for your compliment. The man also looked at Shi Shang. Ha 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 ha, young people like you are not common. Are you interested in coming here to develop? He had seen a lot of calm and composed people, but those people could not compare with her age. He had only seen one person in so many years. That person was the purpose of their coming here today, Jiang-Su. Shi Shang grinned and showed his white teeth. Stupid people like you are also rare. Do you want to have a lifetime in prison deluxe package? The man's expression suddenly changed. Oh. You may not have time to check my identity. Shi Shang did not give the man a chance to speak. My name is Qin Yu. I am from the Criminal Investigation Team of the Municipal Bureau. Police. The man was surprised. They really did not have time to check her identity. Do I need to show you my ID? The man's face darkened. Is this a trap? Jiang-Su has joined the police? They suddenly received a tip-off that Jiang-Su was seen with a woman, so they hurried over. Jiang-Su would rather die than cooperate with the police. They never thought that Jiang-Su would be with the police at this time. Shi Shang thought for a moment. Trap. It can be considered a trap. I need you to lead the way. The man looked around vigilantly. Since it has come to this, why don't your people come out? Is there any point in hiding? Who said I brought people? Shi Shang sneered. What can those idiots do? Want to die? The man was speechless. Was she referring to the police when she said those idiots? The man next to the man came forward and whispered a few words. The man's expression slowly relaxed. Little girl, you want to take me down alone. The result of being careless is very tragic. Shi Shang shrugged. The man still wanted to say something, but suddenly a cold light flashed through his eyes. The headlights of the car exploded without warning. A gust of air rushed from the front and directly lifted him into the air. Bang bang! The bullets flew from behind. When they approached the woman, they strangely bounced back. The speed was too fast for them to dodge. When the man fell to the ground, there was silence. In the smoke, the woman slowly walked over. The sword in her hand was sharp. Now, Can you lead the way for me? There was a faint smile in her voice, but it sent chills down the man's spine, as if he had fallen into a world of ice and snow. The man turned his head and looked around. All his people were lying on the ground, and all the cars were damaged. Only the car parked in the middle was intact. You. What are you? She could not be a human. A human could not have such great ability. I'm sorry to disappoint you. I'm a human. You're a damn thing. Your whole family is a thing. Is there anything that looks as good as me? Damn idiot. You're not a human. You're not. The man shook his head in horror and shrank back. Swish. The iron sword cut through the air and the blade was pointed at the man's neck. Don't move. Swords have no eyes. Don't challenge me to see if your gun is faster or my sword is faster. The man's face instantly turned pale, and his hands froze behind his back. Good evening, cherub. Guess if I'll snatch the sofa. Ha ha ha. Chapter 973. Shi Shang tied the man up and threw him into the trunk. Then he opened the car door and got into the car. Jiang Su sat quietly in his seat. He lowered his head to hide the expression on his face, but his hands were clenched tightly. The veins on the back of his hands were exposed. It was obvious that he had used a lot of strength. Jiang. Shi Shang reached out to touch him. Jiang Su suddenly held her hand, pulled her into his arms and hugged her tightly. He almost thought that she was going to die just now. As long as he thought of something happening to her, he had the urge to destroy everything. Shi Shang could hear his strong heartbeat through his clothes. Shi Shang was slightly stunned. Shi Shang hugged him slowly. I'm fine. Jiang Su hugged her even tighter. He couldn't lose her. Although he didn't understand why, he knew that he couldn't lose her. Shi Shang stroked his back slowly. It's okay. Jiang Su silently let go of her. He pushed her away and turned to look out of the window. Shi Shang. He kept silent without saying anything. This temper was indeed his attribute. Shi Shang forced his face to turn and kissed his lips gently. Jiang Su looked at her without blinking. He didn't respond or resist. Shi Shang. Oh no. This word kept flashing in Shi Shang's mind. Jiang Su reached out to pull Shi Shang's hand away. Just when Shi Shang thought that he was going to push him away, he suddenly wrapped his arms around her waist and pulled her into his arms. He lowered his head and kissed her passionately and crazily. After a long time, Jiang Su let go of her. He rubbed her lips with his fingers. If you want to be my woman, you have to listen to me. Shi Shang slapped him and looked at him with disdain. Are you dreaming? She pressed Jiang Su against the car window and said fiercely, I don't care if you want to be my woman or not. You can only be eyes, understand? Jiang Su didn't have time to show his devilish charm. He looked at Shi Shang silently. He wanted to refute, but he couldn't say anything. Why did he meet such a domineering woman? Shi Shang drove to an abandoned factory. Why do these idiots all like abandoned factories? Shi Shang muttered as he looked outside. Was it to set off the upcoming tragedy? Host, please tell me loudly. If you were a criminal, would you dare to set the location in a downtown area? Why wouldn't he dare? There's nothing I don't dare to do. You win. Shi Shang glanced at Jiang Su, who had fallen asleep. He took a thin blanket from the back seat and covered Jiang Su with it. Then he got off the car quietly and carried the man out. The man had been tied up for a night, but he looked like he had been tortured for a few days. He was extremely haggard. Shi Shang stuck a soundproof talisman on the car and shoved a loudspeaker into the man's hand. Come on, say something. The man was dumbfounded. What are you shouting for? Running to someone's door and shouting. Was this something a human could do? Shi Shang thought for a moment and said, just shout. Your ancestor is here. Come out and welcome her. The man. Why don't you just shoot him? That's faster. Hurry up. Shi Shang gave the man a kick. The man screamed in pain. Ah! Through the loudspeaker, it spread far and wide. His voice was extremely horrifying. Your ancestor is here. Why aren't you? Ah! Your ancestor is here. Come out and welcome her. Your ancestor. In the basement of the factory, there were all kinds of intricate passageways connecting different rooms. In one of the rooms, a man in a white tuxedo stood in front of a monitor. He had delicate features and looked very young. There was a gentle smile on his face. How did you provoke her? The man's voice was like a spring breeze. Someone zoomed in on the monitor and revealed the person in the car. Jong-soo is in the car. The man narrowed his eyes. Didn't I order you not to lay a hand on him? Did my words go in one ear and out the other? The room suddenly fell silent. No one dared to breathe. After a while, someone finally answered, It's Brother De, Ha. The man snorted. Young master, there's only one person, and it's a woman. Shall we go out and get rid of her? The person next to the man suggested carefully. What was there to be afraid of about a woman? Even if they caught one of their people, it must be because she was lucky. The man looked at the person on the monitor and said slowly, Retreat. Young master, when you say retreat, do you mean retreat from here? Someone asked uncertainly. Otherwise, everyone. There was only one woman outside. Why would they retreat? And they had to abandon this place? The man glanced at them lightly. Everyone could only swallow their doubts. Pass down the order. Prepare to retreat. The people in the room left one after another. In the end, only the man was left. He looked at the person on the monitor and gritted his teeth fiercely. This woman didn't follow the routine again. Would it kill her to follow the routine once? How infuriating. No, calm down. If he got angry with her, he would lose. How could this gentleman lose? This time, he was determined not to lose in one episode. Mu Bai turned to leave. There were people waiting outside. He handed over a few small bombs in his hand. Blow them up when you leave. Yes. Blow up the base, Mu Bai added. Ah. Didn't he mean to blow up those people? Mu Bai. If she could blow them up, would he still need to run? Boom. At this moment, there was a violent explosion. The base began to shake. The person holding the bomb looked at the bomb in his hand in confusion. It didn't explode. Mu Bai's mouth twitched and he ran towards the safe passage. The explosion continued behind him. Mu Bai's heart was breaking down. He shouldn't have expected her to wait a little longer. Next time he must strike first. The factory that was standing in front of him just now was razed to the ground in the blink of an eye. The man who shouted was shocked. Why did it suddenly explode? Whoosh! The iron sword shot back from the smoke and dust in the distance. It hung in the air in front of Shi Shang, reflecting waves of cold light. The man's eyes widened in shock. He actually saw a sword flying. Had he transmigrated into a fantasy world? The man probably couldn't take the shock and fainted. Shi Shang carried the man back to the trunk and got in the car with the sword. Jong-soo had already woken up. His gaze swept over her and slowly landed on the iron sword. Why can this sword fly? It can fly in the first place. It has spirituality. Previously, he used this sword to cut her, but in the end, he couldn't cut her. Because she was its master, it wouldn't bite its master. This should have been a very mysterious thing, but he wasn't surprised at all. He could accept everything about her. It was an instinctive acceptance. It was very strange. Isn't that obvious? A sword without spirituality was a cold weapon. Even if it could fly, it needed its master to control it. Jong-soo looked at the iron sword curiously. What's its name? Iron sword. Can you not ask for my name? If you ask, I'll have to change its name. Shi Shang quickly answered, Spiritual sword. Iron sword. Can you be more careful? Master, you'll lose me like this. Chapter 974. B City had been very lively recently. Several of the most famous underground forces, the Red Lotus Society, had been exposed. However, the Red Lotus Society had been avoiding them and avoiding conflict with them. People from all sides were curious about who was so powerful that they could force the underground boss of B City to such a state. The members of the Red Lotus Society felt wronged. They also wanted to fight back, but the higher-ups didn't allow it. Who knew what the higher-ups were thinking? They had provoked them to their doorstep, but they didn't fight back. Ever since they dominated B City, they had never been so aggrieved. The most shameful thing was that the other party was only one person. At least there was only one person who started the fight. After she had taught everyone a lesson, she calmly called the police. It was extremely strange. This was a skill that Shi Shang had learned in the previous worlds. Find the police if there was a problem. Although it was useless to do business, it was still quite good at cleaning up the mess. Ever since Shi Shang called the police and successfully destroyed a few underground dens, the people in the police station now looked at her with complicated expressions. How did she manage to fight so many people by herself? What happened to the soft and easy to push down fair, rich, and beautiful woman? Fairy tales were all lies. Qin Yu, you're late again? As soon as Shi Shang entered the police station, Uai walked over. It's none of your business. Shi Shang looked straight ahead and walked past her. Uai's face turned red. She took a deep breath and said, Captain, he wants you for a meeting. If Xian hadn't asked her to call him, she wouldn't have wanted to talk to this arrogant woman. Did she really think that the whole world revolved around her? Shi Shang paused and suddenly turned back. What? Uai was a little uncomfortable under Shi Shang's stare. She couldn't help but raise her voice. You were the one who touched my tablet, right? Uai's eyes widened. Who touched your things? Don't accuse me. It was you. Shi Shang was certain. Uai acted as if she had been greatly insulted. Qin Yu, don't talk nonsense. Why would I touch your tablet for no reason? Shi Shang rubbed his chin. I heard that Dong Chun's case was solved because you pointed out the key point and found evidence that Dong Chun had bribed the vice president. Miss Yu, where did you get this evidence? Uai tugged at the corner of her shirt. I found out. Oh, it seems like you have a very powerful relative in the bank. How could they allow you to check behind the scenes? Uai's expression changed slightly. She looked at Shi Shang and said, I don't think it's your place to report my findings to you. Of course not. Shi Shang's eyes curved as she briskly walked past her. Didn't I tell you that Dong Chun isn't the real culprit? Her voice drifted into Uai's ears. Uai felt as if she had been struck by lightning. She turned around and questioned Shi Shang, What do you mean? I mean it literally. Shi Shang spread out his hands. You sent an innocent person to prison. Uai was a little flustered. Dong Chun pleaded guilty. If he's not the murderer, why did he plead guilty? Yes. Dong Chun had pleaded guilty. He had already admitted it himself. How could he be wrong? Shi Shang sighed mysteriously. People can lie. Why would he lie? Qin Yu, stop spouting nonsense. Dong Chun had such a good background. If he didn't do it, why would he take the blame for someone else? Why should I tell you why he lied? Shi Shang's tone was harsh. Go and check it yourself. There's an answer in my information. It's a pity that you didn't find it. Even if she found it, she wouldn't be able to solve it. Uai clenched her fists tightly and watched Shi Shang walk towards the meeting room with a dark expression. Uai only turned around when Shi Shang's figure disappeared. She didn't know when someone had stood behind her. His gaze landed in the direction where Shi Shang had left. His body seemed to be wrapped in a thin layer of ice, and it was creepy. Hua Xiao walked right past Uai without even looking at her. Uai's hand that had yet to loosen, once again clenched with all her might. Her nails dug deep into her flesh, bringing about a wave of pain. She didn't know when it started, but Hua Xiao's gaze was no longer on her. Instead, it was on Qin Yu. She didn't understand why Hua Xiao would pay so much attention to her when he hated Qin Yu before. In the meeting room, He Xin was summarizing the recent work. They hadn't made any progress in the R case, but under Hua Xiao's lead, they had found out the inside story of the nanny. The nanny had a daughter. She had asked her daughter to seduce Dong Chun. When Dong Chun was drunk, the nanny had taken photos of them on the boat and extorted a sum of money from him. Dong Chun wanted to give the nanny a sum of money to send her away, but the nanny refused. From then on, the nanny had acted like a tyrant in the Dong family. Every time Dong Chun's wife said that the nanny was wrong, Dong Chun had no choice but to speak up for her. However, the nanny's murderer was still not found. Other than the letter left behind by Ah, there were no other clues at the scene. In the end, all the suspects were ruled out one by one. He Xian believed that Ah had killed the nanny. Only he had the means to do so, but there was no evidence. The second thing He Xian said was that Shi Shang had been looking for trouble with the Red Lotus Society everywhere. He Xian put Shi Shang in charge of this case. He had asked Shi Shang where the news came from, but Shi Shang refused to tell him. He Xian had no other choice. Without any news, even if he let someone else take over the case, it would only be a disaster. Although they had made a lot of contributions in this case, all the credit belonged to Shi Shang alone. Some people in the team felt that it was unfair. Captain He, Qin Yu is still too young. Isn't it a little inappropriate for her to be in charge of the Red Lotus Society's case alone? An old criminal police officer in the team objected. The Red Lotus Society is such a ferocious organization. It's indeed a little dangerous for Qin Yu to be alone. Captain He, why don't we send a few people over to help? There's no progress in the R case. We can't just sit around and do nothing, right? Everyone suggested one after another. At first, they had thought that the R case would be a big one. However, they had flipped through the files and still couldn't find any traces of the R case. He Xian was in a difficult position. The news belonged to Qin Yu alone. Now, these people were going over to share the credit. Qin Yu? He Xian gave the choice to Shi Sheng. After all, she was the director's daughter. If she stubbornly refused, no one would dare to say anything. Since they're so enthusiastic, let's go. Shi Shang looked indifferent. He Xian was a little surprised. He looked at Shi Shang a few times and sent a few people over. After He Xian finished, Shi Shang said slowly, "I'll withdraw from the Red Lotus case. You guys can investigate it yourselves." Everyone. What? It knew that the host wouldn't be so kind. Without the information in her hands, these people would go over blindly. However, it was too late for them to come back now. The host was simply inhumane when it came to cheating people. Qin Yu? If you withdraw, what's the point of investigating? Previously, they had only sent people over after receiving her call. Shi Shang looked at He Xian with a smile. Captain He, how about I help you investigate the R case? Chapter 975. After Shi Shang withdrew from the Red Lotus case to investigate the R case, the few people who wanted to be assigned to the case were instantly put in a difficult position. The information they had was obtained after those people were arrested. They had no idea how Shi Shang found those people. Looking at Shi Shang's attitude, they knew that he would never tell them. The group of people regretted it so much, but it was useless. The R case was still the most important to He Xian. When Shi Shang joined the R case, the first case to be overturned was Dong Chun's case. This news shocked everyone in the Criminal Investigation Unit. Dong Chun had confessed to the crime. You said that Dong Chun is not the murderer. What evidence do you have? Hua Xiao stared straight at Shi Shang. Yu Ai, who was sitting beside him, was a little restless. She had gone back to look at the information. It was huge and messy. She could not figure out anything in a short period of time. Shi Shang was eating sunflower seeds. Have you found out who the man Lu Fan went to meet is? Dong Hao admitted that Lu Fan went to meet his vice president. He Xian replied. He said that he ate **T. You believe him? He Xian was speechless. Didn't you say that there were no surveillance cameras? They had also checked. Indeed, there were no surveillance cameras that showed who Lu Fan went to meet. Before He Xian could finish complaining, Shishang said, he did go to meet the vice president. He Xian was speechless. So what was the problem? Shishang finished eating the last sunflower seed and picked up the tablet beside him. He tapped a few times and a few photos appeared on the screen. The vice president was in the photos. This is the person I found by simulating several possible routes he might have taken. When he left, he got into this car. You have been investigating for so long. This car should look familiar, right? The look in Shishang's eyes was as if it was a huge sin for them not to know. Hua Xiao said coldly, it's Dong Hao's car. Dong Hao, Dong Chun's father. He is the real leader of the Dong group. He is the murderer. Everyone was speechless. Shishang suddenly came to this conclusion. Everyone was dumbfounded. Dong Chun was Dong Hao's son. Why would he send his son to prison? The evidence is Qin Yu. He Xian took a deep breath and reminded Shishang. They couldn't conclude that Dong Hao was the murderer just because the vice president got into Dong Hao's car in the end, right? Moreover, the car was quite a distance away from the place where Vice President Lu Fan met. Not to mention that Dong Hao could say that he was not in the car. Even if he said that he was, he could say that it was on the way, and he would be able to clear his name. Director Dong, I have already discussed with Lu Fan. Suddenly, there was a conversation in the conference room. Everyone's expression froze. You didn't leave any evidence behind, did you? This voice should be Dong Hao's. You don't trust me? The vice president chuckled and lowered his voice. President Dong, that's your daughter-in-law. Do you really want her? She asked for it. Shishang turned off the recording. It's obvious that this vice president doesn't fully trust Dong Hao. He left some evidence behind. Qin Yu, where did you get this thing? They had turned the vice chairman's house upside down, but they still could not find any evidence. Captain He, do you really want to know? Speak. I'm not telling you. He Xian, take a deep breath. Calm down. She's the director's daughter. Solve the case. After mentally preparing himself, He Xian continued, if Dong Hao is the murderer, why did he kill his daughter-in-law and let his son take the blame? Shishang shrugged. Who knows? Maybe he's a psychopath? He Xian. Let me be quiet. On September 5th, Dong Hao also went to Hibiscus House. Dong Chun's wife went to see Dong Hao. Hua Xiao suddenly interrupted. Mr. Hua, you didn't mention this before. He Xian was mentally exhausted. Why did everyone keep this a secret? And he couldn't afford to offend them. Hua Xiao's face was expressionless as he said frankly, I just remembered. Hua Xiao indeed just remembered because he had only vaguely heard someone mention it. Shishang glanced at Hua Xiao and clicked on a few new photos. According to the surveillance footage of Hibiscus House, Dong Chun's wife did go to see Dong Hao. Also, the content of their discussion was quite interesting. Do you want to see it? Shishang raised his eyebrows. He Xian rubbed his eyebrows and repeated, where did you get this from? There were actually surveillance cameras in Hibiscus House? This was an invasion of the guest's privacy. This time, Shishang answered straightforwardly, it's the property of Red Lotus Gang. My hand slipped and made a copy. Red Lotus Gang? Alright, this was a gang. It was normal to secretly install surveillance cameras. But how did your hand slip so well? Dong Hao and Dong Chun's wife were talking about the 5 people who had died in the business circle. Dong Chun's wife seemed to have heard the news from somewhere and questioned Dong Hao about why he had gotten someone to cause such an accident and kill them. Dong Hao denied it at first, but Dong Chun's wife became more and more agitated as she spoke. In the end, it somehow involved a big project from 15 years ago. That project was the most famous landmark building in B City today, the Twin Towers. Back then, there were several big companies competing for the Twin Towers, but in the end, the one who got it was indeed the Dong Corporation, which was not very outstanding among all the companies at that time. Ever since the Dong Corporation built the Twin Towers, the Dong Corporation began to leap forward. In just over a decade, they became the leader of B City. Back then, the Dong Corporation was able to get this project because the Dong Corporation had used underhanded methods and even killed people. Dong Chun's wife knew about this and threatened to tell Dong Chun. How could Dong Hao tolerate her? That time at Furong restaurant was the last chance Dong Hao gave Dong Chun's wife. Xian looked deeply at Shi Sheng. Get ready to arrest him. Everyone looked at each other and started to work. This was really a turn of events. You're very good. Hua Xiao praised indifferently when he passed by Shi Sheng. Of course. Shi Sheng raised his chin. In this era full of big data, it was easy for him to check something. Then why don't we see who will find out ours true identity first? Hua Xiao's eyes burned. Shi Sheng looked at Hua Xiao suspiciously. Not interested. Who the hell wants to compete with the male lead? I'm not crazy. Are you scared? Shi Sheng propped his face up. Mr. Hua, as long as you're happy. Stay away from the male lead and cherish your life. Hua Xiao left with a sullen face, leaving Yu Ai alone in the meeting room. She looked at Shi Sheng and gritted her teeth. You're lying. Shi Sheng raised his eyebrows. So what? Yu Ai was speechless. Yes, so what? Could she expose her? No. Because that would prove that she had stolen her things. That video was in her files, but it was encrypted and she couldn't open it. However, she couldn't remember the title of the video wrong. She had this video in her hands all this time, but she had never taken it out. Dong Hao never thought that there would be surveillance cameras in Furong restaurant. He had clearly gotten someone to check. It wasn't without a reason that he had arranged to meet there. Dong Chun was there. Even if something really happened, they would only suspect Dong Chun. Chapter 976. After Dong Hao was arrested, there was video evidence, so he couldn't deny it. Although he claimed that he wasn't guilty at first and asked a lawyer to defend him, he still admitted that he was guilty under the relentless efforts of the police. Dong Hao's motive was similar to what Shi Sheng said. Seeing that the police were investigating deeper and deeper, Dong Hao decided to sacrifice the rook to save the king. But Dong Chun was not stupid. How could he be Dong Hao's scapegoat? At this time, Dong Hao told Dong Chun that his son was not dead. He had asked someone to swap the child. He couldn't let the Dong family have no children. At that time, the child was crushed very badly. Dong Hao didn't allow the autopsy on the grounds that he didn't want to disturb the child. It was just a child. The forensic doctor couldn't persuade Dong Hao and just thought that he cared about his grandson. But he didn't know that Dong Hao had already swapped the child. Dong Chun cared about his son very much. Dong Hao threatened him with the child, so Dong Chun had to agree in the end. As for the motive of killing the vice president, half of the reason was that the vice president knew too much. The other reason was that he knew that the police were about to find the vice president. When the police asked him how he knew, he said that he bought the information from someone else. They contacted each other through a website where all kinds of information were bought and sold. But when the police checked the website, it showed that it didn't exist. They couldn't find any information. If Dong Hao hadn't said it so confidently, they would have suspected that Dong Hao was deceiving them. Shi Sheng remembered that website. It was the website that Jiang Su had created with a mixture of languages from all over the world. She had asked Jiang Su about it. Jiang Su said that it was the world's largest intelligence website and the owner was him. Shi Sheng didn't dare to help the police check the website. When Xian came to her, she only said that she didn't know and couldn't do anything. Yu Ai had wronged Dong Chun, but it was more because Dong Chun had confessed, so Yu Ai was only deducted a few months' salary. Nothing happened. On the day that Dong Chun was released, many people went to the police station to watch. There were also reporters outside. The gate of the police station was like a vegetable market. He Xian's men stood at the back. He watched Dong Chun answer the reporter's questions with a sad face and whispered to the people next to him, "Did Dong Hao tell us about the nanny?" No, Dong Hao insisted that he didn't know about it. The nanny's death merely drew your attention back to the Dong family. Why are you? He Xian looked to the person who spoke. The voice behind him stopped abruptly. "Qinyu, why did you come out? Are you trying to stir up trouble again?" This rich young lady would cause trouble without a word, and it was not a small matter. He was now afraid of her. It would have been better before she fell ill. At least at that time, the things she did were small matters that were resolved internally. "I'm here to watch the fun." Shi Shang was munching on melon seeds. "Captain He, do you want some?" He Xian glared at Shi Shang. The Dong Group's case is closed, but the R Group's case is not. Who is in the mood to eat sunflower seeds? He Xian looked at Shi Shang suspiciously. Why was there something wrong with this girl? She was so different from before. Could it be that after falling sick, he had released his natural instincts? "Sister, your letter." Shi Shang lowered her head to look at the child who was tugging at her clothes. He was holding an unsigned letter in his hand. Shi Shang stared at the letter for a few seconds and did not take it. "Who asked you to deliver this?" "A beautiful sister." The child replied obediently. "She said it's for the most beautiful sister here." Shi Shang looked to He Xian. "Captain He, take it." "Isn't this for you?" Why did he ask him to take it? "I'm afraid it's a trap." Shi Shang answered honestly. He Xian could not believe it. "You're afraid it's a trap, so you asked me to take it?" Shi Shang said seriously. "You're the captain. If you don't go to hell, who will?" He Xian wanted to strangle Shi Shang. He took the letter from the child and tore it open. There was only a blank letter inside, and there was only an R signature. He Xian and the people behind him all changed their expressions. R had appeared. "Why did he send you this?" He Xian looked at Shi Shang and pointed at the R signature in the middle of the letter. "What does this mean?" Shi Shang thought for a while and praised himself shamelessly. "Maybe it's because I'm good-looking?" He Xian's expression was serious. "Qinyu, do you know how serious this is? R has sent you a letter." Shi Shang nodded seriously. "I know. He sent me a letter. I saw it." "You don't have to repeat it." He Xian. "Then can you be a little nervous? What's with your indifferent expression? You're making us look like lunatics." Buzz. Shi Shang's phone suddenly vibrated. Everyone's eyes focused on her. Shi Shang calmly took it out. The sender was Jiang Su. He wanted her to bring him something when she went back. Just as she was about to reply, another message from an unknown number came in. "I thought you were very powerful. I didn't expect you to be a coward." Shi Shang. So why did he send her a letter when he had her contact number? There's cat biscuits. I don't understand this pervert's thoughts. Shi Shang's fingers quickly slid across the screen. "If you're not afraid of death, come and stand in front of I." It's a provocation. Who doesn't know how to do it? The other party replied almost instantly. "You're not qualified." "Yo, you're even crazier than I." "Very good. There's always a retard who wants to harm me. It's scary." Delete. Delete. Shi Shang quickly blacklisted the other party and set it to not accept any spam. "What are you doing?" He Xian waited for Shi Shang to put the phone back in her pocket before asking her. Shi Shang pouted and said, "Chatting with that retard R." Flip's table. Was the R she was talking about the R he knew? Z, and a few R's. He Xian was furious. "You have R's contact number? Why would I need a retard's contact number?" Shi Shang looked disdainful. "Who isn't a retard in your eyes?" He listened to her calling him a retard all day. He was almost a retard himself. "Calm down. Calm down. Calm down." He Xian took deep breaths. "Then you said you were chatting with R?" He looked for me himself. He said he liked my beauty. Xin was about to explode in anger. He gritted his teeth and said, "Give me his number. Maybe we can track his location." Delete it. Delete. Xin was glad that he didn't have a heart attack. Otherwise, he would die of anger. He pointed at Shi Sheng. His fingers were trembling and he couldn't speak clearly. You. Captain He, forgive me for being blunt. You might be able to track this number unless you find a world-class hacker. Obviously, you won't be able to find it. Besides, if I'll definitely throw it away. So no matter what, it's futile. Shi Sheng patted Captain He's shoulder. Don't waste your energy. Go home and eat. Xin was speechless. T. I'm going to call the police. There's a lunatic here who attacks his own people. ## today's tulip-flavored ticket ## monthly ticket ## my obsession with monthly ticket ## 2000 monthly ticket update #. Chapter 977. When Shi Sheng came back from the police station, he heard a commotion as soon as he stepped out of the elevator. Who is so wicked? This kind of person should be arrested. Don't you care about the property management? We paid so much money and you don't even know what happened? You have to give us an explanation today. What the hell is going on? The property management staff was surrounded and tried to explain. Everyone, please calm down. We will definitely give you an explanation. There was a pungent smell of paint in the corridor. Shi Sheng squeezed in and saw that the corridor was covered in paint. Shi Sheng looked at her door and then looked in the direction of the paint. He had a rough idea of what had happened. Someone came to her house to cause trouble and was repelled by the defensive talisman. There were no surveillance cameras in the corridor, only in the direction of the elevator. The property management staff saw a person carrying a bucket of paint out of the elevator. About 2 minutes later, he ran back to the elevator with blood all over his face, as if a man-eating monster was chasing him. Shi Sheng was used to people trying to cause trouble secretly, so he calmly opened the door and went in. Jiang Su was waiting at the door. The first thing he said was, "Someone came this afternoon." "Oh." Shi Sheng put down the things. "How do you know?" Jiang Su showed the computer to Shi Sheng. The surveillance camera was right at her door. Shi Sheng's mouth twitched. "You installed surveillance cameras in front of my house?" "Just in case." He had to guard against too many people. Shi Sheng looked at him and raised his eyebrows. "What do you want to ask?" Jiang Su sped up the video just as the person was repelled. "Why?" Shi Sheng turned and pointed at a talisman on the door. "Look, this. It's just a defensive talisman." "That's not what I want to ask." He had noticed the talisman before. Dingu also told him that he had seen Shi Sheng fight with the triads. He was not curious about it at all. "Then what are you asking?" Jiang Su pointed at the wrist of the person on the screen. "Why did the people from our group target you?" Shi Sheng leaned over to take a look. His sleeves covered most of the tattoo, but it wasn't hard to guess what the tattoo was. Shi Sheng was silent for a moment. "Who knows what the pervert is thinking?" "Qin Yu." "I'm fine." Jiang Su took a deep look at Shi Sheng, turned the computer back, tapped on it for a while, and then turned it back to Shi Sheng. "They are collecting information about you. How did she provoke those lunatics?" "I received a letter today." Shi Sheng looked away from the screen. Jiang Su asked, "What letter?" "It's the signature of an R." Jiang Su's expression stiffened for a few seconds. He took a deep breath. "Challenge letter, that's a challenge letter." Shi Sheng was slightly surprised. "A bunch of idiots want to challenge me? Amazing. Do you think I'm made of paper?" Jiang Su. Why did she always act as if I was invincible and they were all idiots? "Can I use your website?" Shi Sheng pointed at Jiang Su's computer. Jiang Su shook his head. "I can't trace them. I've tried. They never use the internet in their own territory. Shi Shang smiled confidently. They will always use it. As long as they have existed, I can find them. Don't talk nonsense. Are you going to let me use it or not? Jiang Su handed the computer over. Play by yourself. Don't disturb me. Shi Shang took the computer and walked to the room. Jiang Su looked at the things that Shi Shang threw on the ground and shook his head helplessly. This kind of girlfriend was indeed useless. Wait a minute. Jiang Su suddenly called out to Shi Shang. What's wrong? Are you hurt? Jiang Su pointed at Shi Shang's sleeve, where there was a small bloodstain. Shi Shang took a look and casually explained, maybe it's paint. Jiang Su looked at her suspiciously. Shi Shang's lips tugged into a smile before she turned and entered the bedroom. Ever since Shi Shang solved the Dong Group's case, Hua Xiao liked to appear in front of Shi Shang. Hua Xiao was an unapproachable existence in the police station. Only UAI had taken the initiative to look for someone like this. They had thought that UAI and Hua Xiao would have some kind of passion, but in the end, UAI was abandoned. Everyone looked at UAI with an obscure gaze. Hua Xiao had taken UAI to a few cases before. In everyone's eyes, it was all Hua Xiao's credit. Without Hua Xiao, could UAI have solved the case? There were many people who took advantage of the situation. You couldn't think that just because others flattered you for a while, they would always do so. You might be trampled under their feet in the next moment. This story taught us that we had to be vigilant at all times. We had to think clearly about why others flattered you. Did they really treat you as a friend or were they just forced to do so? Xiao AI, are you okay? Huang Song saw that UAI didn't look well and went forward with concern. Are you feeling unwell? I'm fine, thank you. UAI shook her head, took the documents on the table and started to work. Huang Song moved his lips, wanting to say something but hesitated. He stood beside UAI for a long time before leaving. At noon, everyone was eating when they suddenly received a report that a body had been found. Everyone didn't have time to eat and immediately went to work. Qinyu, why are you still eating? Xian passed by Shi Shang, angrily pulled her lunchbox open, and dragged her out. Shi Shang quickly took the lunchbox. Eating was more important than a dead person. If she didn't eat her fill, how could she have the energy to act pretentious and solve the case? Xian. This girl was definitely sent to torture him. Shi Shang carried the lunchbox to the car. A group of people watched her eat. Some of them had just been served and hadn't eaten a single bite. Now that they smelled the aroma of the food, their stomachs grumbled. Everyone. This was real torture. The location of the crime was a river in B City. Someone found a body by the river and immediately called the police. The police had already pulled up the cordon. Xian arrived with his men and took over their work. Shi Shang stood aside, idly munching on melon seeds. When Xian finished asking about the situation, Shi Shang had already started playing games. Xian. If murder wasn't illegal, he would be the first to strangle this woman. It's fine if you're munching on melon seeds, but you're still playing games? Don't you have any self-awareness as a police officer? Qinyu. Xian shouted. He didn't dare to shout at her just because she was the chief's daughter. At worst, he would just lose his job. He was ready to risk it. Shi Shang ignored Xian. He had no choice but to come over and snatch Shi Shang's phone. He nimbly stuffed it into his trouser pocket. Are you here to play games? Shi Shang said innocently, I didn't intend to come. It was you who dragged me along. You're blaming me? Xian. Calm down. It's illegal to strangle someone to death. Look at this. Xian handed a piece of paper to Shi Shang. The most eye-catching thing was the flowery sticker with the letter R on it. The fragrance of rotting in the soil. There was no superfluous description, just one sentence. What did it mean? Asterisk flips table asterisk who the hell could understand? Anyway, Xian was dumbfounded. He didn't really understand the thoughts of these perverts. Shi Shang glanced at the corpse. What did the victim do? He Exine shook his head. There was no identification on her body. I'm not sure yet. There were no injuries on her body. The cause of death is unknown. We'll have to wait for the forensic doctor. Asterisk little fairy. Today is the 7th day of the Lunar New Year. First, I'll observe a moment of silence for the cherub who have to go to work. Next, I'll observe a moment of silence for the cherub who are about to start school. Chapter 978. The deceased was a female between 22 and 25 years old. She was only wearing a nightgown and crawling on the ground. There were no traces of being violated. Almost everything on the deceased that could prove her identity had been removed, leaving only a cheap nightgown. There was not even underwear inside. He Exine asked Shi Shang, could it be R? How would I know? Shi Shang rolled his eyes at He Exine. He was not R's salt substitute. Captain I found something. UAI ran over from a distance, ignoring Shi Shang. She said to He Exine with a straight face, tire tracks were found. He Exine waved his hand and motioned to take a look. Shi Shang leaned against the car and didn't move. He Exine knew that he couldn't call him, so he didn't call him. Once He Exine and UAI were out of sight, Shi Shang slowly made her way over to the corpse. She looked at the corpse and then looked around. It was very remote. Ordinary people wouldn't come here. There was a river in front and a slope behind. There was a small road on the slope. This road was built around the river. Some people would come here for a morning run. The person who found the corpse was walking his dog. The dog suddenly ran down the slope. The owner called for it for a long time, but it didn't go up. So he came down and saw the deceased. Miss Qin, what do you think? Hua Zhao's voice sounded from the side. Shi Shang. This male lead is crazy. He's always looking for trouble with me. He likes her? Don't be kidding. She only saw a fighting spirit in the male lead's eyes. It was the kind of fighting spirit that wanted to kill the opponent on the ground. She flipped the table. Why didn't she check on that R? Why did she have to compare with her? If this wasn't cat biscuits, then what was? Shi Shang squeezed his fingers, and there were a few crisp sounds. He turned his head left and right and suddenly punched Hua Xiao in the face. I have tolerated you for a long time. Shi Shang punched someone at the scene of the crime, and it was Hua Xiao, the consultant. Someone told Qin Yi. Qin Yi knew what his daughter had done recently. He and Li Lan were a little worried, but they didn't dare to tell her when they thought that she almost died. After a serious illness, her whole person changed. Who wouldn't be suspicious? But she remembered everything. Even if they tried to probe her occasionally, she could deal with it naturally. This was their daughter. Qin Yu. Qin Yi was so angry that he slapped the table. Do you know who you're hitting? Shi Shang answered honestly, Hua Xiao. If it wasn't for Hua Xiao, I wouldn't have bothered to make a move. You dared to make a move even though you knew. He was so angry. Do you know who Hua Xiao's grandfather is? I just beat him up. I didn't even kill him. He's a big man, and he wants to complain to the higher-ups? If the young couldn't beat him, the old could. Wasn't that the skill of a villain? The male lead Darren shouldn't have activated this skill. Qin Yi was angry. Do you still want to kill him? Do you still want to stay in the criminal investigation unit? Shi Shang looked at Qin Yi innocently. He can't beat me, and he blames me? Qin Yi gasped for breath, his face red and his neck thick. Qin Yu, you go and apologize to Hua Xiao. Apologize to the male lead? Dream on. Not going. Oh. You said you wouldn't go. Why did you agree? Host, don't cause trouble, I'm telling you. Shi Shang came out of Qin Yi's office and snorted coldly. He looked like a pervert who wanted to kill someone. Master, come quickly. The host's illness is serious again. The system can't take it anymore. You're the one who's sick. Usually, sick people won't admit that they're sick. Host, don't deny it. You're sick. If you're sick, take medicine. Don't go out and harm others, okay? Shi Shang ground his teeth. Since you said that I'm sick, how can I live up to the word, sick, if I don't harm others? The system had better go offline. Shi Shang sneaked into the ward in the middle of the night and beat Hua Xiao up again. Hua Xiao's injuries weren't serious, but after being beaten up by Shi Shang, he probably wouldn't be able to see anyone for at least 10 days to half a month. To prevent Hua Xiao's superiors from interfering, Shi Shang even prepared some amateur shows for Hua Xiao. He threatened that if Hua Xiao dared to complain to his superiors, he would become famous all over the world. Shi Shang didn't hide his identity at all. Hua Xiao knew who beat him up, but he couldn't say anything. Hua Xiao grew up, and other than hitting a wall with the female lead, it was Shi Shang who beat him up. Mr. Hua, who beat you up? I don't know, Hua Xiao replied coldly. Give me your phone. The man hurriedly handed the phone over. Hua Xiao wanted to ask his superiors to remove Qin Yi from his position, but instead of getting support, he was scolded. Hua Xiao felt that something was wrong. Ignoring his injuries, he went to find old Master Hua. Young master. The maid opened the door for Hua Xiao and was shocked to see him. It took her a while to recognize that it was her young master. In the past, Hua Xiao rarely came back except for festivals. Why did he come back today with a bandage on his head? Without saying a word, Hua Xiao strode inside and went straight to the study. He didn't even knock on the door and directly pushed it open. Grandpa. There were many people in the study. When Hua Xiao suddenly entered, they all stopped talking and looked at the door. Hua Xiao, do you have any manners? Get out. Old Master Hua, who was standing in the middle, immediately scolded him. Hua Xiao didn't expect so many people to be there. He nodded slightly and left the study. The people in the study soon came out. Hua Xiao watched them leave. These people didn't seem like the people his grandfather usually interacted with. This time, Hua Xiao knocked on the door and went in. Grandpa. I know why you are here. Old Master Hua rubbed his eyebrows. But I can only tell you, don't do anything to them. Hua Xiao frowned. Why? Old Master Hua was counting on this grandson to take over his position. Naturally, he had to tell him the pros and cons. He pondered for a long time and slowly said, a few days ago, Qin Yu contacted the National Security Agency. Shi Shang used state secrets to threaten the National Security Agency to withdraw the surveillance on Jiangsu and not to touch the Qin family and the Li family. Otherwise, she wasn't sure whether those things would be lost abroad. She didn't hide her identity? Hua Xiao was shocked. How dare she threaten the National Security Agency? No. She revealed her identity as soon as she went up, as if she was afraid that others wouldn't know who she was. The people in the National Security Agency didn't know how to react. The National Security Agency agreed? The National Security Agency tried to arrest her, but Old Master Hua's face was serious. They failed. The Qin family and the Li family are both impregnable. She will know every move of the National Security Agency and react in a way that will catch them off guard. Under such circumstances, what else could the National Security Agency do? She didn't make any excessive demands. She just guaranteed the safety of the Qin family and the Li family and Jiangsu. Hua Xiao murmured, "Who is she?" Chapter 979. After hitting Hua Xiao, Shi Shang came to work as usual the next day. Everyone looked helpless. This was the result of having a backer. As soon as Shi Shang sat down, Xin rushed out of his office. "Qin Yu, why did you hit Mr. Hua yesterday?" "I don't like him." He was still chattering in her ear. "Who else would she hit?" Xin, "Who do you like?" He had never seen her being pleasant to anyone before. She would scold him at the slightest disagreement. Xin lowered his voice and looked around like a thief. "Aren't you afraid that the Hua family Shi Shang smiled mysteriously. They wouldn't dare. She wasn't stupid. Of course, she had to solve her own worries first. Cough, cough, cough. Although he didn't know where this little girl got her confidence from, he thought that there shouldn't be any problems with the chief. He changed the topic and said, "The identity of the deceased hasn't been found. There are 3 cases of missing women who are more likely to be the deceased. Go to one of them." "I'm not going." Xin was already used to Shi Shang's rejection. He took out the letter from his pocket. "I've read the old case. This is Oz challenge letter. A criminal police officer received it. Do you know what happened to him? He died. It was all a trap. According to the plot, this letter should have been sent to the male or female lead. But now, it had fallen into her hands. The hunter would shoot the bird that sticks out. It was better for her to keep a low profile in the future. It's good that you know. Hurry up and investigate. The sooner you find the better." "I'm not going." She wouldn't go if there were people outside who wanted to secretly harm her. She should be the one to make the first move. "Captain I'll go." Uai interrupted and volunteered. Xin looked at Shi Shang and then at Uai. In the end, he could only leave it to Uai. Uai held the document and secretly clenched her fists. She would definitely find out the truth. Most of the people in the criminal investigation unit had gone out. The entire office was very quiet. Shi Shang tapped on the keyboard from time to time. Her screen was full of dense lines, including several lines that were marked in red. They came from all directions and gathered at one point. Shi Shang's screen suddenly turned black and a sentence popped up. "I found a location." The corners of Shi Shang's mouth twitched. He quickly typed a few words and deleted them. "Send them to me." Yes, he could not dampen his wife's enthusiasm. The location that Jiangsu sent to her was totally different from hers, even a world of difference. Obviously, Jiangsu's location was more hidden. He should have used his intelligence website to get the address. She hadn't realized it before. Sigh, his wife was quite useful. "You want to go?" "Of course. The sooner I get rid of this group of idiots, the sooner I can go home and hug my wife. Then, I can just sit there and wait for death." "Dingu is waiting for you outside. I can do it alone." She still had to take care of him. It was troublesome. "I'm here for you." "I know, I'll take them there. Come back soon." Shi Shang turned off his computer. As expected, Dingu and his men were waiting outside the police station. When they saw her come out, their expressions were very interesting. His future sister-in-law seemed to be very impressive. "Nice to meet you, Miss Qin." Dingu greeted her respectfully, and the men behind him bowed and greeted her. Shi Shang looked at the group of burdens and sighed. "Let's go." Dingu hurriedly opened the door of the car next to him and let Shi Shang get in first. It was a little far from the police station. Everyone in the car kept silent and the atmosphere was very awkward. Dingu coughed and tried to find a topic. "Miss Qin, how did you meet Brother Jiang?" "On a dark and windy night. I met him." "Dingu. What happened?" He thought he would hear a story of a hero saving a damsel in distress. In the end, she just explained it to him with one sentence. "Bad review." Dingu secretly sized up Shi Shang. He felt that this girl was full of thorns. If he was not careful, he would be pricked into a hedgehog. He better not say anything. "Miss Qin, we're here. It's the building in front. We've already checked. That building was built a few years ago. It was supposed to be demolished a few years ago, but for some reason, it was left unsettled." Shi Shang looked at the old door and frowned slightly. This building was stuck in the middle of a group of buildings. It was not good to make a big noise. Shi Shang took out a stack of talismans and gave them to Dingu. "Go around the building and stick one talisman every 10 meters. Stick these on your body. You only have 10 minutes. Don't waste time." "Miss Qin, are you a Taoist?" Dingu still remembered clearly how he was sent flying last time. He really did not expect there to be such an expert in this world. He wanted to ride on her coattails. No. Why would she want to learn Taoism? She had cat biscuits. Then, Shershang glanced at Dingu and said coldly, "You talk so much nonsense. Why don't you be a storyteller?" Dingu. There was no such thing as a storyteller now. He quickly distributed the talismans to the others and asked worriedly, "Miss Chin, can I stick them on however I want?" As far as he knew, there were many rules for these things. "Whatever. As long as you stick them on the front." Shershang waved his hand. "Hurry up." This building was not big. Dingu and the others quickly put up the talismans. However, when they returned to the car, they found that Shershang was gone. Jiangsu had asked them to protect the good people. Now that he was gone, Dingu hurriedly ordered them to split up and look for him. This building was an old-style building. There was a yard in the front. There were some ropes in the yard. There were many clothes hanging on the ropes. There were men's and women's clothes. There were no children's clothes. At this time, the building was silent. Nothing could be heard. Shershang swaggered to the middle of the yard. "Stop hiding. Come out." Her voice echoed in the yard. For a long time, no one responded. Whoosh! The sound of something breaking through the air came from behind Shershang. Shershang put some force on his toes and nimbly avoided the hidden weapon that was shot from behind. The hidden weapon hit the trunk in the yard, making the leaves rustle. Shershang turned his wrist and the iron sword appeared in his hand. He waved it behind him. The sword aura was so strong that it left a deep ditch in the ground. Bang! Ah! Two voices sounded one after the other. A figure rolled out of the dark. The clothes on his body were torn by the sword aura. They could barely cover his body. Shershang tilted his head and the corners of his mouth curved into an evil smile. "You're so young. You don't learn good things. How dare you stab me in the back? It's fine if you stab me in the back, but you can't do it well. What's the use of you?" The boy on the ground groaned in pain. He had no energy to listen to what Shershang was saying. His skin felt like it had been cut by a knife. Every inch of his skin was burning with pain. Shershang looked in the direction of the building again. Shershang walked towards the boy with his sword. The tip of the sword dragged on the ground with a harsh sound. The splashing sparks were reflected in the boy's painful eyes. The cold air came from the ground. The boy shivered. He supported himself with his hands on the ground and stepped back with difficulty. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.